food, infrastructure, and setting the agenda. Join us for Charging Currents.
The efficient utilization of water resources in the country for irrigation is a key driver of the food security pillar under President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda.
Hizi tuko na mill hapa, hatuendi Mwea. Hii nikivuna mchele yangu hapa napeleka kwa store.
Only on KBC Channel 1.
Next on.
ما نسمع اسم النبي لازم نصلي عليه اللهم صل عليه.
Katika mambo ya kawaida, mapenzi itoke upande wetu kwa kumpenda Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala.
Miongoni mwa manufaa ya kupendwa na Mwenyezi Mungu ni kuwa Allah atawafanya binadamu nao pia wakupende, na mambo yako yatakuwa rahisi, dua zako zitakuwa zinakujibiwa, na Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala pia atakuwa anakulinda.
Lamma tiji sirti nabi nibdaha bis-salah.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Mwalimu, angisimada shares mbadi day with Falas girlfriend.
Really? What a weird coincidence.
You and I both can agree that all this is not for Sisha.
Saitan. See, I thought we said we are not going to speak about that yet again. Why are you spoiling my mood, Yawa?
Please, Wase, what is wrong, eh?
Please, what? You think I'm one of those women you are calling?
Mwalimu, can you imagine Sisha wants to kill Ngalo?
Or maybe it is you.
Me? Why? What did I do to you?
KBC Channel 1 evokes the full potential of worship in you.
You are the living God.
You waited for me, just for me.
Join us for an experience like no other when it comes to lifting your soul and giving adoration.
We are here for you. Tasimama tena, tainuka tena.
Worship experience. Praise mix. Next on.
Acha nikuchapie. Glenn msanaweza kupatia wera ya nguvu sana. Hata kikukumbusha kitu utaki kukumbuka, wewe kumbuka tu.
Kuna ufala sana. Aya, wewe mgeni wa Tiff?
Yeah.
So che basi nende nimchapie uko hapa ndo nikam.
Is that necessary? The family knows.
Yaje? Wewe ndio Sifa?
Yeah.
Tiff ameniambia unakam. Karibu. Kwa ngori mazi.
Wewe na nani?
Ushaanza tena.
Cheki, siniliambia hizi mix zenu mimi msiniingishe.
Cheki, ongea polepole unachoma.
I might be the one firing you.
Sasa ukinifuta kibibi na watoto watakula nini?
The next time you should be smart.
Good morning. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya. I am Jane Wambui. Hi, Sam.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing?
Everything all right?
All good.
We're trying to be modest.
We're trying.
Good morning. How are you? Welcome to the program. If only you knew what was going on in this show behind the scenes, the conversations that we were just having before we went on air, right, Jen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and now she's like, mm-hmm, and I try.
But
good to see you.
Good to see you.
All is well?
All is well. All is well. Oh. Reminds me of the movie Three Idiots. You remember it?
Nah.
You need to watch it. It's an Indian movie and it's 3 hours long.
Titled Three Idiots.
Titled Three Idiots.
Okay.
But it's a movie about engineers. funny thing about it.
The irony.
Very smart dude.
Okay.
Yo, that aside, welcome to Good Morning Kenya. Kama kawaida, we are glad you are with us. It is Entertainment Thursday, and as we always say here on Good Morning Kenya, Thursday is a new Friday, and it's just about turning down. Tumevaa vitenge sisi wote leo. Hatukuambiana too much, but yo.
Kuna
karorashio mahali. All is well.
Yeah.
Glad you are with us this morning. We have such a fantastic show coming up in a bit. And today being Thursday, we always have our kids talk conversation. And today we're still going to be having that. I'll be sitting in for Regina. And today we're going to just be looking at, what the comrades have been experiencing this past week, given that universities officially got the go-ahead to reopen their institutions this past Monday for those who have opened, how things have been for those who have not opened, what are the reasons that are being fronted, and also for parents for the grade 4, class 8 and form 4 students who are expected to start reporting to school next week on Monday. Are you prepared? What are the reservations that you have? Are you pro-reopening or anti-reopening schools come Monday? That is the conversation we are going to be having today, and we welcome you to talk to us, share with us your thoughts in regards to those particular topics that we're going to be handling in not too long.
And from my end of things, trust me, we shall be looking into entertainment. We have a pencil artist as well as an artist. Which one, Migani?
They're both artists.
They're both artists.
But express their art in different forms.
Yeah, so should we call the pencil one artist and the other one artist?
The other way around. Yeah, the other way around.
Also, so we'll be having them. Moja ameimba, uo mwingine anachora. That's home. Sindio, that's home. Moja anaimba, uo mwingine anachora. They'll be coming through to the show. We'll be getting to appreciate their talent, their art, their growth. It so happens the pencil artists did his very first interview right here, and I'm the one who hosted him.
What are the odds?
Hapa too.
Hapa nyumbani.
Good morning, Kenya.
And director Kojo anasema tuwaite mchori na muimbi.
No, we will not do that. No, we can't. We refuse to can, director. We cannot. Iyo tumekataa. Ati muhuna muwat?
That one and that one.
No, ilishia kwa mchunga jina mtumishi. After that, we just decided no. It cannot
artist
come.
And artist.
Yeah, artist and artist. So we'll be having them on the show a little later. This is the only way to start your day. Kama kawa, the hashtag is Good Morning Kenya at KBC Channel 1, at Jane Wamboi, and at Sam W. Njoroge. We're taking a break. In the headlines begins in a few. Now, the front page of the Standard this morning talks about taming. Yes, I'm being told about this one. What you want to learn? I mean, it's morning. People have thermoses around, People are taking breakfast, and so are we as we kickstart your day. Now, the front page of the Standard talks about taming Ruto. That is the headline that goes with this particular daily. And it's a security threat as government announces stringent measures to curb political violence as defiant Deputy President pushes on with campaigns for 2022. This story is on page 4 of this particular daily. And pictured here is a quote from the head of a public service, that is Joseph Kenywa. He's actually pictured on the front page of the Star, and he says that the Security Council hereby directs relevant security organs to enforce these directives without fear or favor to the offenders, regardless of their economic standing, ethnicity, religion, and political association, as well as status. That is the leading story in the Standard today. Now, from flooded classrooms to broke classrooms, this is the cry of parents as they talk about the harsh times they are going through as they ponder on how they will get school fees to get their kids back to school. Now, 2 jailed for Westgate massacre. That story is on page 2. I'll be giving you details a little later, as well as Gatundu North Member of Parliament, that is Wanjiko Kibe. She lost her Gatundu North parliamentary seat yesterday, and that story is on page 3 of the Standard today.
Now let's have a look at the front page of the Daily Nation this morning, and the main story reading, Uhuru fires warning shot to halt rebellion. Now this comes a day after he jetted back into the country from his trip in France, and now the National Security Advisory Committee has warned politicians against their utterances when they are at gatherings, saying that they're now going to be held accountable for each and every word that they utter at these gatherings, as well as what they put on social media. I'll be giving you details of that particular story in a bit, and of course this is coming in the background of the events that we saw this past Sunday, the violence that erupted at Kennel in Murang'a. Still keeping up with the front page, 10 MPs in trouble. Now, Wanjiku Kibe's loss of a seat could spark more petitions. Details of that coming up in a bit. And now heads roll at KPA as senior officers are sacked on the basis of graft charges, shady tenders, and that were given out. We'll be giving you details of what happened there. At the bottom of the front page of the Daily Nations, a private school fee shocker for parents. Now, private schools have set some punitive conditions for parents before the reopening of schools come next Monday. I will be telling you some of the conditions that some private schools are putting in place as a condition to take back pupils and other students come Monday next week. And this also talks about some 200 academic private schools that have been forced out of business due to COVID-19. Details of all this and so much more as we continue with the segment in the headlines.
Are you a fan of pop music, or what I can say vintage classic music? Well, today we don't have good news for you, because Nash, you remember Nash? I can see clearly now the track that was released in 1972. Well, he's dead. He died yesterday in Houston, Texas, aged 80 years, and died out of natural causes. His health has been declining over time, and today page 3 of the Standard chooses to just observe life and times of Nash. This is the story that I'm talking about. He came into the pop sector, or to the pop music, after he released that hit song, I can see clearly now, back in the year 1972, and now this morning we're reporting that Nash is dead. Messages of condolences continue to pour from different artists across the world, and we here at Good Morning Kenya do the same and stand with pop, culture and music lovers as they continue to observe the death and mourn Nash.
Now, let's get to this story in regards to what private schools are saying to some parents, the conditions that they're putting in place in order for them to take pupils come next week on Monday. So some private schools have set conditions which have been termed as punitive, and are now demanding, they have put forth some demands. Among them, number one is that all parents need to pay school fees in full ahead of the reopening on Monday. Number two, they need to clear the areas that they had before schools were closed for term 1. Number three, now parents are also demanding that the school, schools give discounts for the few weeks that were term 1 was cut short. And another condition that private schools are putting in place is that they're saying that parents who failed to enroll their children for the online classes are now going to be required to readmit their children to school, saying that if you did not allow your child to attend the online classes, you are considered to have withdrawn your child from that particular school. So now you have to go the whole 9 yards when it comes to getting your child to a new school. And this involves admission fees, all those yearly fees that you have to pay all over again. Others are saying that, if whether your child attended the online classes or not, you are still required to pay for those lessons that were being offered during that time. Let's see, another condition that they're giving here. Okay, one parent actually wanted to respond saying that it is completely unfair, as it was not my choice that my son doesn't attend the poorly run online classes. We will have to ask the management to reconsider this. This is a parent from Nairobi who was saying this. Sukari Presbyterian Academy in Nairobi has informed parents that those who failed to enroll their children for online classes were considered to have withdrawn their children from the school and will have to seek readmission. Admission will be subject to the child measuring to the standard of his or her class, availability of space, and ability to meet financial obligation, among other things that were being put in place. Now, this all is coming as, So many other parents are struggling to find schools for their children, given there's some 200 schools, private schools, which are said to have been forced out of business and will not be reopening as schools are reopened on Monday. And now parents in this particular schools, as they go about looking for schools for their children, they are being given some of these conditions as requirements to just get your child to school. Tough times.
Was it a requirement, or was it a caveat when it came to registration of online classes, that if you do not register for the online classes, then we will have been deemed to have deregistered your child from the school? Or is this coming up now?
This is coming up now, because I hadn't heard it anywhere.
Me too.
But now schools are saying, I mean, if you did not enroll your child, and they were optional, by the way. They said, you know, you can enroll your child for these online classes when you were getting into this platform.
But remember, it's coming from private schools, huh?
Mostly, yeah.
And they're said to be the ones that were hardest hit by COVID-19 in as far as the education sector is concerned.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a way of them reaching out to government to cushion them somehow through some fund. But also maybe we can consider, you know, paying the fee gradually. Just get into an agreement with the parent that you will pay the fee gradually on towards January. You see, so that even after you ulipe half sahi, then you ingine ulipe pole pole as you graduate towards January.
But you know, I also feel for the parents and the school in this case, because you know, looking at the schools, they literally have no money to run, and if half of the entire population of the school decides to pay half of the school fees or less, they will barely have enough to run. But then again, this is also very discriminatory on the children's side, on the parents' side. I mean, we all suffered in one way or the other, and more so financially for so many parents. So it's...
Yeah, and I'm thinking, okay, fine. If you are in boarding school, for example, you live in Nairobi.
A different county.
No, you live in Nairobi.
Within any school in Nairobi?
You school in Nairobi in a boarding school. Is there a sense for you to board, even as we continue observing social distance?
Absolutely.
I mean, you can come and go home. But if you live in Nairobi, but your school is in Muranga, then yeah, it makes sense for you go board because of the commuting issues. But then we'll see how Monday pans out. A spot check shall reveal. Trust us. We shall be on it. Page 4 of the Standard is all about the headline and the top story in this particular daily. Tough times ahead for Deputy President Ruto in new security measures, and the security chiefs now ordered to strictly enforce the law with regard to public meetings to ease political tensions. Now, this came in the wake of a meeting yesterday by the National Security Advisory Committee, after which the head of public service, that is Joseph Kenywa, read a press statement where all these measures were outlined. You will find that on page 4 of the Standard. There are those that argue, yes, it's a necessary move. Others say, you know what? There's so much of politics around it, saying that it could be a way of taming the tension that has been within the Jubilee Party. But at the end of the day, law and order is very critical. We've been talking about that right here on the show. And courtesy of that, also remember that CS Matiang'i as well as the PS Karanja Kibisho had been summoned in Parliament to explain to the House the measures they will put, or they have put in place, to avoid the escalating tensions as we head towards 2022. So that is the story that you will find on page 4 of the Standard this Thursday. Jane?
Now, coming to page 4 of the Daily Nation, this is a rather good story, and this has been called The Road to Damascus, where the scales fell off from the eyes of an FGM champion. Now, this is a lady who is known as Elizabeth Chepkorir, who is said to have lost count of the number of girls she has circumcised over her life. She is now aged 72, and she began as a traditional practitioner when it comes to FGM back in 1990, and after 3 decades she was said to be the most sought after traditional circumciser in Rift Valley, but now she spends most of her time preaching against FGM that has earned fame in Baringo, Nakuru and Elgeyo Marakwet counties. Now, during the peak seasons when she was still practicing, She would perform the cut on hundreds of girls in Iten, Kericho, Narok, and several other towns. And according to what she said, is that female circumcision was done openly back in the 1990s and early 2000s when she was still very actively doing this particular cut. She would circumcise at least 30 girls and women daily. Due to the demand for the cut, she would even some ladies would actually be brought to her home for her to perform this act. And the irony is none of her 4 daughters had actually experienced FGM. Now, they used to pay her between 200 and 400 shillings just to be able to get the cut. And she was actually saying, I was never sober when I did my work, and everybody knew I loved Busa. I had not placed any fixed amount, and I was to be paid, though I got satisfied with anything above 200 shillings, food or liquor. Now she is anti-FGM, having learned over the years, and this mostly came after her husband died back in 1992, after when she went fully into circumcision, only for her to come to realize that, you know, she was doing these young girls such a disservice, and now she is anti-FGM at the age of 72. Yes.
I don't know why I refuse to come.
She even now works with an NGO.
It's all right. It's okay. But we've had conversations around FGM in this country for a very long time. And after earning approximately 12,000 Kenya shillings in a day, because she was, on a good day, she would get at least 30. If then you pay her 400, that is 12K.
And she would take anywhere from 200 bob
to
going 400. Up to 400, food or a busa.
Or busa. But it's a good change, it's a good flip. I just hope that now she will use that platform at 72 to try and campaign against this particular practice that is said to have adverse health effects on our women. Now, Rigathi Gachagua, Madeira Member of Parliament, is in trouble. He has been in and out of court courtesy of corruption, and investigations have been done. And the Asset Recovery Agency now tells him to explain how he got 200 million Kenya shillings stashed in 3 separate bank accounts, or it will be taken back by the Asset Recovery. And one of the reasons why this particular body argues so is because it says after investigations, it has been revealed that he has been involved, allegedly involved, in money laundering schemes for some time now, schemes that have earned him this particular monies, that is 200 million, that is currently stashed in 3 separate accounts. Now, 7.3 billion, just an overview still of the same story, is the amount the state says was transacted in MP's account through a series of huge suspicious debit transactions. And 12.5 billion is the credit transactions between 2013 and 2020, while 165 million Kenya shillings is the amount held at Rafiki Microfinance. That story, you will find it on page 9 of the Standard today.
Now, on that same breath, on matters concerning war against corruption, on the Daily Nation, there's a piece of how 20 billion shillings was recovered in a graft purge. Now, the government has so far recovered close to 20 billion Kenya shillings in stolen public funds and assets that are in the past 5 years. And this has been termed as a signal that, you know, we are actually reaping the fruits of fighting corruption. Now, this is according to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Yesterday, they said that they had averted the possible loss of a further 100 billion Kenya shillings in the same period, the past 5 years. Now, according to the chief executive, Mr. Twalib Mbarak, he said that the recoveries were a signal that the war against corruption is actually bearing fruits in the country, despite critics accusing the investigative agency of, you know, slowing down and not really bringing to book those who have been caught in graft cases. Now, he actually was quoted saying the recovery of these stolen funds has been accelerated in the past 2 years, and we believe that these achievements mark a major milestone in the fight against corruption here in our country, and will also help us build on the efforts going forward. Now, he was saying this as he also highlighted that during that same period, the past 5 years, they have concluded 824 investigation cases. Of this 824, 153 have been prosecuted in court successfully. Now, the EACC in the recent past has been termed as the weakest link when it comes to the fight against corruption, given that people have been saying that we don't really see people who are taken to court and consequently incarcerated for their charges that have been leveled against them. Most of them actually just tend to walk away, and that case just floats and disappears. But now the fact that they have been termed as the weakest link in the fight against corruption, despite receiving billions of shillings annually from the national government. Now, critics of the commission have also pointed to the low conviction rates, again saying that most of these individuals actually walk away from these grand corruption cases. But then the commission has received close to 14.7 billion in the first 5 years. But critics still argue that it's still a little, considering how much we usually hear when it comes to grand corruption cases that have happened here in the country.
What do the cases do again, Jane?
What they can?
Yeah,
they can.
Float. They float. You literally had to have them floating
and disappear.
Yeah,
it's what critics are saying. After you have been arrested, grand arrests. There's a motorcade coming for you.
Year.
Coming for you.
It last? Yeah, it was last year.
You were heckled out of your house
before Rona happened.
6 a.m. in the morning. Unabebwa juju. Unapelekwa koti. Spend the day there, the night there, the next day given bail.
Actually, they used to happen on Friday, so that you spend
over
the weekend.
Yes.
And then Monday to Sunday uko na opportunity ya kujitoa in one way or another. Yeah. But very valid points that have been raised there. I hope but again, the judiciary rather, there's challenges therein, and they have nothing to do maybe with what we may think. I mean, if you line up 30 lawyers and 100 witnesses, you have only one prosecutor. Ulisikia wapi? How many days is it going to take? All right?
And these are just the grand cases.
Yeah, these are
Look
just
at all the kawaida
cases.
cases that have to go through the justice system.
But
There's such a backlog.
I also feel some of the cases that are taken to court do not warrant going to court, because arbitration is a reality.
Out-of-court settlements,
Out-of-court settlements are a reality. Chief and village elders are a reality. Your own common sense is a reality. You can choose to resolve it and walk away. Why not? It has been done before. Why can't you? And that is just me thinking out loud. And as we think out loud, we take a break. When we take this break, we'll be returning with more from In the Headlines, as well as Kids Talk that will be coming out at 8. Stay tuned.
Excuse me, who is this trying to call me with his gadget? Please, before you call me Professor Ouma, you should have a telecommunicative device. My friend, we professors, we do not walk, we locomote. We do not drive problem boxes, yani probox.
To get Professor, bonyeza star 811 star 759 hash. Dial star 811 star 759 hash.
Yote ndawai do iko tu sawa kwa macho yako.
Unataka kuwako?
Ati nini? Why are you people shouting?
Are you okay? Mwanamke wewe ninakuona sana. Ni wanaume hapa Mombasa wameisha.
Ni nini mbaya? Nowadays we have so many unfaithful people.
What?
We need to talk about her every time we are together.
And be very careful the way you address me.
Zako zinakuangaje? Huwezi kaa dakika mbili hata bila kuteta.
You will all sign new contracts.
And I am supposed to be briefed.
What? Taki ujinga.
Oof.
switched on.
Acha nikuchapie. Glenn msa anaweza kupatia wera ya nguvu sana. Hata akikukumbusha kitu utaki kukumbuka, wewe kumbuka tu.
Kuna ufala sana. Aya, wewe mgeni wa Tiff?
Yeah.
So basi nende nimchapie uko hapa ndo nikam.
Is that necessary? The family knows.
Yaje? Wewe ndio Sifa?
Yeah.
Tiff ameniambia unakam. Karibu. Kwa ngori mazee.
Wewe na nani?
Ushaanza tena.
Cheki, siniliambia hizi mix zenu mimi msiniingishe.
Cheki, ongea pole pole, unachoma.
I might be the one firing you.
Sasa ukinifuta kibibi na watoto watakula nini?
The next time you should be smart.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Freeze! This is a holdup.
Ease up there, Casper.
I wouldn't do that.
You're not a rapper.
So pull your pants up.
Guess who's back in town? Who? Annie Streets. I was gonna catch a movie tomorrow night.
By yourself?
You know that Mexican guy you arrested? You don't know who you're messing with.
Release my brother if you want to see her alive.
Where do you think you're going?
I'm going to Mexico.
No, you're not going to Mexico.
When danger becomes a reality, it must be met head on.
12 gauge in the knee seat. Gonna raise a little love off the red nanny to ride. I'm a redneck fool in a four-wheel drive. Got a 12 gauge in the...
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Of course, yes. That's why I've been supporting you.
Is this supporting?
Hai, nakwambia kwa nini unataka kuregelea vitu lakini sinatumia Kiswahili mume wangu, huelewi?
Kwa hiyo mnaketi hapa na house girl, si ndio? Kwa hiyo ndio kazi huwa mnafanya?
Sasa wewe ni
hiyo ndio kazi huwa mnafanya?
Please, Hebu acha kujiregelea. Mimi najua alikufuata ofisini. Lakini sasa swali ni nani amekupatia ruhusa ya kumsaidia? Na unajua vizuri sana mimi ndo nilikuwa na mamake na mimi ndo nilikuwa nifuatilia hizo story.
Yule, kwa nini kwanza unakuja juu?
Welcome back to the program. In case you're just joining us, this is the only way to start your morning. Good morning, Kenya. My name is Samuel Njoroge, and the lady you just saw there is called Jane Wamboye, okay? Now, is it reform or interference that is happening with the Kenya Tea Development Agency? That is the question that is being posed by page 12 of the Standard this morning as a beta test in the tea bonus that has kept farmers off from plucking tea. And farmers for the third day in a row have decided not to go pluck tea due to the tea bonuses that have otherwise declined over time due to coronavirus and other, business patterns that have affected the tea industry over time. And now the farmers have stayed away from plucking tea in a move that is seen to deny factories the much needed green leaf. The paper goes ahead to report that a majority of KTDA factories now are operating at a 20% capacity when it comes to regions operationalization of factories in KTDA-owned factories across the country, and the concern has been raised on what exactly is the way forward. Remember, a lot of word has been shared about this particular issue on tea. Just the other day, I believe it was on Monday, we saw the Council of Governors talk about how KTDA needs to be allowed an opportunity to exercise its mandate, and also government to remember that it is more of an investor, and thus it should be given the proper enabling environment. In fact, one of the quotes were, "We once had KPCU, we did away with it, and see what happened to the coffee sector." So is this reform or interference when it comes to what is happening with the tea sector, most especially KTDA? You will find that story on page 12 of the Standard today.
Now, looking at some county news from the Daily Nation. This is the story of a woman who has now been allowed to bury a man who she cohabited with, and this was a ruling that was made by a court. Now, in-laws had told the court that that teacher never married any of his many girlfriends. Now, getting to the details of this particular story is that this lady, who is a teacher, had lived with this man for over 30 years. They had three sons who apparently passed on along the journey. This gentleman also passed on the 25th of August when he was at his mother's home, where he had gone to build a home for his mother back in the rural place, and he just is said to have collapsed and was declared dead when they arrived at Mercy Mission Hospital, and consequently the body was taken to the mortuary. Now, according to the mother of this young gentleman, Miss Wangoi, and the sons, they say that they did not know this woman was their son's wife, despite the fact that they had lived together for 30 plus years. And they say that they were actually denying her the rights to bury this gentleman in their Bahati sub-county home in Wasingishu, where they had buried 3 of their sons, and that is where she wanted to lay her late husband to rest as well. But now they went to court, and the court finally ruled on her behalf, saying that there is little proof of a customary marriage, but added that there existed a marriage through long cohabitation, and consequently the defense and the counterclaim succeeded, and she was given the right to bury her late husband. Now, the mother actually argued that the man, who is called Mr. Mana, had introduced Wangoi to their family back in Eldama Ravine, but he had also introduced so many other girlfriends and had never married her, and he's said to have not completed paying her dowry and had only paid 10,000 shillings as part of the dowry. Joro, long cohabitation.
Nikifika ni maneno ya wapenda nao, wapata nao.
But you can imagine being denied the right to bury a person you have lived with for over 30 years, built a family with.
But remember was it last Friday when we were having that conversation about that young lady who had showed up to her boyfriend's house and she was already performing wife duties?
Can we stay?
Everything
has consequences.
Has security. When you're getting employed to a job, you need security. Adaka your contract, right? When you are getting into a deal, you need
security and assurances.
Security and assurances. I'm not trying to say that protects you from the risks. They are there, but at least it helps you sleep better at night. Really, it does. If you decide, if you're young, please learn from some of these things. Don't jump into the bandwagon because every other person is jumping into it. Alafu unatuambia ulijikuta.
That's why they say, if you like it, put a ring on it.
Yeah.
That ring gonna protect you, girl.
And if the milk is free,
why buy the cow?
Why buy the cow?
Why?
Why?
And looking at this particular case, this guy has now passed, and his body is now the subject of such contention, even in his absence. Anyway, before we move to the Standard, there's this particular story here of what is happening in Wasingishu, where a transgender woman has actually won a fight with prosecutors on identity issues. Now, during the census that happened last year, that was the first time where we had a third gender marker introduced here in Kenya. Female, male. What was the third one, Sam?
It must have been trans.
I'm trying to remember the particular phrasing. But last year is when we got the third gender marker introduced here in Kenya. And now in Eldoret, a court that has directed the prosecution to stop referring to a transgender woman by her masculine name and instead use her preferred feminine identity. Now, this came as the prosecutor had referred to the accused as Shays Chepkosgei, alias Hillary Kiprotich. Now, the accused, however, wants to be identified as a woman and not by the masculine name, that is Hillary Kiprotich. The lawyer argued that this was causing her client psychological torture by being referred to as a man, and consequently the ruling was made in her favor. In her favor, saying in the interest of prosecution for this case to move as fast as possible. From now henceforth, she will be referred to as Shays Chepkosgei and not as Hilary Kiprotich. This was the order that was given by Chief Magistrate Linus Kassan.
It reminds me of Audrey's story. Remember Audrey?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did it go, by the way?
It was one of those cases
In
that...
Kamali, I guess... but
floated and
disappeared. Probably he hasn't disappeared
from the public
space, of course. And they say it's a human rights issue. It remains to be, by the way. It remains to be a human rights issue. Yeah. Imanze leo nanieka kwa sport on various issues I really do not want to comment on.
Moving to the Standard.
Can we do the star first? Because we haven't touched on the star today. And why state wants to stop the deputy president's hustler campaigns. And NCIC had also warned that the Hustler versus Dynasties narrative is genocidal. That story is on page 6 of the Star today. On pages 4 to 5, Unbowed, inside DP Ruto's strategy to capture power. Nyandarua widow living in tent after house demolished. This is a story of a 73-year-old Muthega village in Leshu Pondo, Daragwa in Nyandarua. You will, courtesy of a land dispute, she is now living in a tent after her house was demolished. Page 25 of this daily has that for you, as well as missing documents in as far as the mischievous Mau Monkey touched my title deeds. What is the deal here? The story is told through David Cheruyot, one of those who are evicted from the Mau, and courtesy now of compensation. He needs the title, but it cannot be traced. That is page 30 of the Star for you. As far as the opinion pieces are concerned, we've got one from Wycliffe Muga, where Ruto's Hustlers versus Dynasts, a bold experiment. That's page 20 for you. And remember, yesterday there was a major story on Westgate terrorists, and now they are to await sentencing after they were convicted. That is Hussein Hassan and Mohammed Ahmed at the Milimani Law Courts in Nairobi yesterday. That is just the highlight of the Star for you this Thursday.
All right, before we move on, the third agenda marker was intersex.
Intersex, yeah.
Yes.
Intersex.
Just had to remind
Intersex,
you. Intersex.
Yeah.
Female, male, and intersex. That was the third agenda marker that was introduced.
Is that okay?
In Kenya for the first time.
But do we have actually a law, a bill, a piece of legislation that protects this population? Because moving forward, it's necessary. If it's not there, it's necessary because it goes beyond a pronouncement of the court to integration into society. And now that is where the rubber meets the tarmac, where, you know, issues to do with when you are to get employed, how do you go about it? If you are to access a social amenities, how do you go about it? If you want to get into politics, how do you go about it? So if there is no enabling legislation that is currently in place, then it needs to be considered.
To even avoid such cases in court, you have to fight for your identity in court.
But it's still progressive. I mean, take a look at Kalen. From Bruce to Kalen. The transition was not that easy, given that it was happening in America. In fact, at one point, keeping up with the Kardashians had become quite a toll on the cast, that is the Kardashian family, because of this transition. So you can imagine if the superpower, that is the US of A, is still dealing with some of these issues, what would be the situation right here? But that is not in an effort to say that we cannot set the stage and, you know, keep up the pace. I mean, we've been told to come up, or we've been congratulated for coming up with a progressive 2010 constitution. I believe we can come up with progressive human rights legislation that, you know, protect people from inhumanity.
And actually, Kenya is said to be having one of the best constitutions in the world.
Yeah, sure.
Just the implementation process.
In fact, a majority of the countries that have made constitutions after 2010 have benchmarked with our 2010 document. So that only tells you a lot. However, I keep saying protection is way better. Safety is way better than Or prevention
The
is
thought
better
of
than
it.
cure. The thought
Yeah.
of it, yeah.
You could think you're safe, but really, you guy, my guy.
Ukirudi kwa ground,
situation
vitu ni different.
Situation ni tricky. Tension. Now, let's move on to some world news. And this particular story is about Mrs. Obama. Michelle, the title here says, Michelle brands Trump as racist. Now, this was during a 24-minute video that she was speaking and offering closing arguments to for Democratic White House nominee Joe Biden. She was quoted saying Donald Trump is a racist president whose strategy is fear-mongering, division, and promoting ugly conspiracy theories that could destroy America if he is re-elected. Those were her words. She further on went on to say that Trump is morally wrong, quote unquote, for making, or rather for taking actions that intimidate voters and for lying about how minorities will run U.S. suburbs. What the president is doing is once again patently false. It is morally wrong, and yes, it is racist. But she further went on to warn that such tactics have the potential to work, particularly because Americans lack the time and energy to fact-check everything being spread online or in the U.S. media. And this is because it is a difficult time, a confusing time, and when people hear these lies and crazy conspiracies repeated over and over and over again, they know what to think because it is what they have been told. One thing this president is really, really good at is using fear and confusion to spread his lies to win. Now, these were the words of Mr. Obama, who added to what Mrs. Obama had to say in regards to how Trump has been running the U.S. And, you know, the conversation on social media, guys are always saying, like, you know, Obama is still my president, those who are anti-Trump. And, of course, the Obama legacy is said to be one of the legacies that had the presidency was not tainted compared to the Trump legacy. And given Obama was the first black president of the U.S., he has been used as a classic example of the kind of presidency that the folk in the U.S. want. So right now, this is the conversation about, you know, at least what Mrs. Obama had to say in regards to Trump and the way he is using his power, terming it as very a confusing time, and using his conspiracies is to intimidate voters into voting for him for a second run is definitely not the way to go about it.
Did you see Trump's tweet yesterday?
No, I did not. What did he say? What did he tweet?
It's all about, you know, he was diagnosed with COVID.
Coronavirus, or how he likes to call it, the Chinese virus.
So he tweeted about it yesterday, and he said, I'm feeling much better. I'm just reading it the way it is.
Can you read it like him?
No, I can't. Nah. I am feeling much better.
Yeah.
The doctors said they've never seen a body kill the coronavirus like mine.
In 4 days?
Yes, they said my body was made to kill viruses. They tested my DNA, and they said it wasn't DNA, it was USA. They said if Joe Biden had the virus, he would have died several times by now. They said there is no way anyone with a body like mine could lose an election. I'm going to win. Huge.
Could you go over that again?
It's not until you get to the second and third sentence that you're like, what?
Like, okay, wait.
Yeah. I had the exact same feeling yesterday when I was reading this thing.
How did I not see that?
And I'm feeling much better. The doctors said they've never seen a body kill the coronavirus like mine.
Had a body like mine?
Yeah, they said my body was made to kill viruses. They tested my DNA, and they said it wasn't DNA, it was USA. They said if Joe Biden had the virus, he would have died several times by now. They said there is no way anyone with a body like mine could lose an election. I'm gonna win.
Man.
Huge.
But that line, my body doesn't have DNA, it has USA, that is dope. That line is sick.
Whoever came up with
Whoever came up with that tweet, yo.
You take the day.
But you know, one thing about Trump, at least from what I have seen pro-Trump supporters say is that in as much as he may not be a very good president, he's a very good businessman. And the problem with him is that he runs the states as a business as opposed to a nation where people live.
Others have said he runs it like a TV show.
Well, that tweet, that tweet
remember The
wins,
Apprentice?
though. Sorry?
The Apprentice.
Oh, yes.
You're fired. You remember that line? You're fired. So, yeah, that's Trump for you. Let's come back right here in the country. Page 41 of the Standard. Now, transporters rule lack of COVID-19 testing kits at border points. You remember at one point around April, May, our border points were quite porous and presented a particular risk when it comes to the spread of COVID-19 and managing the same in as far as flattening the curve is concerned. Well, right now, and various testing centers were mounted at various border points around the country. However, transporters now say that those centers are there, but they do not have the testing kits, and thus it becomes difficult to get in and out through borders because it is mandatory for you to be tested, and thus it becomes a concern for them. You will find a quote here by one of the large-scale transporters saying, "We are forced to hire local youths to protect us and the cargo. What scares us most is that robbers can attack a truck transporting inflammable cargo," because now due to the build-up and the pile-up of trucks along our borders, insecurity has gone quite high. Nakumbuka watu wako na njaa. They've been hit by the pandemic, so it becomes quite a good fodder for thugs and robbers to do what they do best. And now calls have been made to government to check on this particular situation. That is page 41 of the Standard for you.
Now, COVID-19 relief is said to have cost KRA approximately 500 billion Kenya shillings. And the actual figure is estimated to be 535 billion Kenya shillings. Now, this comes as a tax relief and other various interventions were introduced in the country in April of this year to cushion the country against the economic effects of COVID-19. And this is now costing KRA over 500 billion in its annual collection. Now, the KRA Commissioner Strategy, Innovation and Risk Management, Mr. Mohammed Omar, said that the authority is, however, supporting businesses to recover, but the cost is still too high. They estimate an average loss of more than 535 billion as a result of the reduction of the value-added tax from 16% down by 2% to 14%. Payee down by 5% to 25%, among other incentives and omissions that were put in place. Now, he was speaking as yesterday in Mombasa while addressing the Institute of Certified Public Accountants, saying that moving forward, our constitution gives the Commissioner General powers to appoint tax agents, and in future, we intend to use accountants to file returns on behalf of KRA, just to encourage those who had been certified for their public accounts courses. Now, the new tax procedures and regulations also call for the use of technology in tax collections, which will seal tax leakages that have been a big source of loss also in the country when it comes to revenue collection. So as we are trying to recover post-COVID-19, KRA is saying we are down 500 billion Kenya shillings, at least 500 billion Kenya shillings so far. Nini mekushtua hivyo Sam?
Word is Costa. Got some tea.
Got some tea?
Got some tea from DJ Moore.
Serve us. Oh my
from
God.
DJ Moore and Size 8. You remember what has been going on?
He has actually, his name has been changed from DJ Moore
to
another one that I can't say on air. But it starts with an H.
You're so intelligent. You're so smart.
My director is saying I can whisper. No, but
we refuse.
Yes, but what does the star has to say?
It talks about me cheating on Size 8. Don't believe what you see. That is DJ Moore. And remember, this leaked conversations between him and a lady called Margaret Wanyama. Lakini Edgar Obare, honestly.
Anaitwa his teeness. His teeness.
Edgar Obare.
Obare.
Anywho.
Did you actually get to read some of those screenshots that were shared?
What I usually do, if you share screenshots, I do not read them. And I find it a very immature way of dealing with issues of life.
Now
we were never there when the two of you were conversing. Why should we be there now that the two of you are no longer conversing? Hapo unakuanga umelose bonga points kwangu from 100 to 0 very fast. And then what's your point? And you know, Jane and I, you and I are in the limelight.
Yes.
Mtu anaweza tu kufanyia hivyo.
Quick.
Yeah, that's why, honestly, for me, I usually have some very strict principles when it comes to conversations.
You know, I got to have a glimpse of that story as Edgar Obare was putting. He was actually posting the screenshot messages between him and the alleged lady.
Yeah.
And getting to read what this lady was saying, what DJ Mo was telling her about his wife, and she actually had screenshots of, you know, FaceTime between her and Mo. Why do people do that? And she actually went as far as telling Obare, put my name and my face out there. After all, I don't live in Kenya anymore, and it will be a while before I come back. Chick, forgetting, the internet never forgets.
That's one. Number two, this is a marriage with children involved. What do you gain by destroying it?
And also, number three, if there's any truth to this story, why would you put your family through this? I mean, you know, by the time you are cheating, you know what you're doing. By the time you involve yourself with anybody else, you are absolutely in control of what you are doing. And you know all too well, you have a family back at home. Okay? But you still go ahead and do this. And to make it worse, you leave evidence
but
that can be traced back to you.
When you're getting,
and you even go as far as trashing your partner to this other person.
That trashing part, that's low. The trashing part is low.
Man.
The trashing part is low.
Even Saizet put out a tweet saying, is it my fault that I'm poor in bed, as had been said in that story.
Okay.
And the worst bit is when one partner cheats and puts the other partner in a situation where they question themselves. What did I not do right? Or what did I not do?
That's why I say, before you get into a marriage, love you.
Yes.
That's number one. And there is nothing like, oh, you're my happiness, you're my what? No. You be your happiness, let me be my happiness, let us share our happiness. Otherwise, there's some dependencies that you will develop.
Some pewa majimoto.
No, honestly,
you see, that term, that dependency
dependencies you will develop. Wacha nikwambie.
People have a dependency to relationships that is very unhealthy. When
the petals have withered, and now you're left with the roses. And now you're left with thorns. Ndio utajua ujui. But I'm not discouraging anyone. I'm just saying you need to be very wise.
Yes.
You need to be very wise. And you know, there's this whole other thing of sijui ati kuvumili. Okay, let me not even go that direction. Because Samido pia ako kwa wades. You remember that drama? The Karen's baby Moon, which is happening. It's a story that has been unraveling for the better part of this week. And of course, Samido has come out to deny this, saying he was not even in the baby shower. He and Karen broke off their friendship 3 months ago after he realized that the relationship or the friendship between him and Karen was going to ruin the home. But now people are asking questions on what he's saying. Mbona hata huyu mtoto anaitwa SM Junior? Because SM could mean Samuel Mushoki Jr., which are actually the real names of Samido.
Yes.
So that story is on page 19 of the Star. But he says, I have a wife and kids and I'm at home and I'm okay and that baby is not mine. I have not met Karen. In 3 months, I left that friendship after I realized it is threatening my marriage. Now, that is another point umejiekelea kwa frying pan. How was it threatening your marriage? And why did it get to a point
that
where it threatens your marriage? We take a break. We are back in a few.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1 for a program that is objective and offers answers to matters economic, security, social, political, food, infrastructure, and setting the agenda. Join us for Charging Currents.
The efficient utilization of water resources in the country for irrigation is a key driver of the food security pillar under President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda.
Hizi tuko na mill hapa, hatuendi Mwea. Hii nikivuna mchele yangu hapa napeleka kwa store.
Only on KBC Channel 1.
People gonna say all kind of things about you.
With them on. Shake up, need to mushia one, done to mushia. When your booty got show me now.
Baby, one time. Bossy baby, give me 2 times.
Full 180.
Let's go. Ha. I needed some with some bop in it.
Mamacita, where you at? I've been trying to reach you.
Katoto shepu awe, ayawe, ayawe.
Tekenya katoto, kamini tekenya, tekenya.
On the next episode of
Kwani nyumbani wapigwe?
Nataka uwe kama wanaume wengine.
Okay. Niambie, wanaume wao wanaume wengine wakoje?
Ondoka, subiria nini?
Jamani Maria.
Nini kwani akiondoka yeye mimi napungukiwa na nini humu ndani? Huyu hapo aseme kama nakusemea uongo. Nyoa nini mwenyewe? Sema kama nakusemea uongo.
Tujeni kazi zenu
next on.
Oya buda. Rada. Acha nikuchapie. Glenn msanaweza kupatia wera ya nguvu sana. Hata akikukumbusha kitu utaki kukumbuka, wewe kumbuka tu.
Kuna ufala sana. Aya, wewe mgeni wa Tiff?
Yeah.
So basi nende nimchapie uko hapa ndo nikam.
Is that necessary? The family knows.
Yaje? Wewe ndio Sifa?
Yeah.
Tiff ameniambia unakam. Karibu. Kwa ngori mazee.
Wewe na nani?
Ushaanza tena.
Cheki, niliwaambia hizi mix zenu mimi msiniingishe.
Cheki, ongea polepole unachoma.
I might be the one firing you.
Sasa ukinifuta kibibi na watoto watakula nini?
The next time you should be smart.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Wiki kwenye mkulima tutaangazia chai aina ya zambarau.
Hii chai inaitwa purple tea, imezunduliwa na watafiti wetu. Hii purple tea research imetuonyesha iko na manufaa kwa mwili ya binadamu.
Ungana nami Frederick Mbada Jumapili saa 9:30 nikupe uondo kamili.
All right, welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. If you are just joining us, karibu tena sana. My name is Jane Wamboi. We are glad you are with us. So remember, you can talk to us using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1 rather. My handle is Jane Wamboi across all the social media platforms. Do let us know where you're watching us from and how you are enjoying the show, and as well contributing to the discussions that we are about to get into. And this first discussion is what we usually have every Thursday, conversation with our young folk, KBC Kids Talk. I'm sitting in for Regina Manyara today, and today we are going to be looking at the state of preparedness. This is a conversation we also had last week, but due to the constraint of time, we weren't able to fully exhaust this conversation. And now, coming on the background that schools have officially been given a reopening date by the CS, Professor Magoha, and that is the 12th of October, this coming Monday. And now we have seen so many parents come out to share their different opinions in regards to this date that has been put in place, with a week to prepare for the reopening of schools for grade 4, class 8 and form 4 pupils, all expected to report back on Monday to continue with, or rather to start term 2 studies, which will go up until the 23rd of December. Then they close on the 24th, only to reopen schools for term 3 on the 4th of January. Now, with a week to go, how ready are you as a parent to take your child back to school? If you are a grade 4, a class 8 or a form 4 student, how ready are you as well to go back to school? That is the conversation we want to have right now, and we have a number of guests joining us via Zoom this morning from different parts of Kenya. As you can see, some of them on your screen right there, ready to engage in this conversation, share with us their thoughts, and you are welcome as well to be part of this conversation. And to start us off, we are going to be starting with Team Ekesa. All right, he will be back in a bit. We will start with Salome. Hi, Salome.
Hi.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right. Maybe you could just start by telling us where you are coming to us live from.
I'm based in Nakuru.
All right. Now, we have seen the CS tell us that schools will be opening on Monday. What are your thoughts about this, given this just a week before grade 4, class 8 and form 4 students have to report back to school?
I feel the time that we have been given is very short for preparation. It was time to open school, but then the time given for preparation is too short. The parents are anxious. They don't have the school fees. The children have outgrown the uniforms, and that duration is very short. So I feel as much as we are going to open the schools, we need we need to bring the parents on board. What are they going to do about the school fees, especially for the private schools?
Now, speaking of private schools and you being a parent, are you willing to take your child back to school come Monday? Are you ready for that?
I'll only be pacing, observe the protocols. That is the only time I'll be comfortable to take my child to school.
All right.
But
now,
before that, it will be difficult.
Now, looking at private schools, as a parent, have you gotten any communication from your child's school in terms of their preparation to receive your child, to give you some sense of reassurance?
Say that they are preparing according to their health protocols, and they're ready on Monday because it's only 2 classes, that is grade 4 and class 8, so the spacing will not be an issue. But we are yet to see what is going to happen.
All right. Now, just stay with us. We'll be coming back to you in a bit. Right now, we want to move on to Mabel Nyanchama. Good morning, Mabel.
Good morning, Jane. How are you?
Very fine, thank you. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Now, looking at the week that has been put in place by CS for the reopening of schools, what are your immediate thoughts about this time frame that has been put in place?
Now, Jane, I'd say that parents should just let their kids go to school because anyway, somehow, at the end of the day, the economy has to open up, schools have to open up, kids have to go to school, they have to complete their school. We cannot continue having kids back at home, yet there's nothing much that is happening. What I'd actually raise as a concern is that the government needs to put up measures but at least go back to school. Every other good reason why they need to go back to school, there's measures being put in place, sensitizing the students, the teachers, the social distancing and all that kind of stuff to enable the efficient learning of students in schools.
Ours will be 9, so it's good to wake her.
All right, we'll be having different opinions coming in regards to this particular question. But still with you, Mabel, we have seen so many parents complaining of the financial responsibility that is there. And now we are seeing some private schools actually saying that they are going to be requiring parents to pay school fees in full before readmission to school. What are your thoughts about this situation now with what private schools are saying?
I'm thinking with private schools, Salome, you have to forgive me, but you, one of them being a proprietor, I think you guys, the private schools are going too far. This COVID thing has hit everyone else. The economy has honestly gone down. People have been affected right, left, and center. There's a parent who moved their kids from Nairobi all the way to Samushago back at home and telling that parent to get the family back from home and bring them back to Nairobi, honestly, within a span of a week and expect them to get school fees for an entire year or an entire term is going to be tedious for these parents. I have an example of a parent. I come from Kajiado County. I have an example of a parent there who had those views and unfortunately, she passed on. So you see such kind, ilimchukua na shock, We are going to experience that and maybe more. These are persons who's been really struggling to even get the small monies. They were laid off from work, and now here you are telling them to take their kids back to school. I feel like the school fees should be cut down, or if the parents have to pay the fees, let it be in installments according to the pocket of the parents.
All right. Now, stay with us, Mabel. We'll be back with you in a bit. Right now, let's move on to Xavier. Good morning, Xavier.
Morning, Joy.
Thank you for being with us. Kindly tell us where you're coming to us live from.
Yes, Nairobi, student, University of Nairobi, final year.
All right. Now, as a student, what are your thoughts about this reporting back to school, given that, at least for primary and secondary students have been given a week, but we saw universities open this past Monday. How has it been for you so far?
Yes, as a final year, I would like to talk for myself. I feel like I really need to go back to school and clear my studies, having spent 5 months of no learning. So for me, I really want to go back to school. But there are certain aspects that I have a concern with, and those are 3 areas. When you look at the mental side, because there are some of us, like someone like me, who has not encountered any person who passed through COVID-19. But the other students who have really lost their parents, relatives. So the concern on the counseling side, are the institutions on the counseling side really equipped to come and talk to the students who are coming back to school? How are they going to manage it? That's my first concern. My second concern is the handling of the food area. Because when you see guidelines given by Magoha, there is saying like every institution that is going to provide food, they make sure that the food handlers must have the PPE. And when you look at during the COVID-19, we've been having issues of lack of PPE. So how is a school like mine, University of Nairobi, going to have equipped PPE for all the food handlers? Then my third area is the the area of the disinfecting part, because when you see there are places they are saying that after 3 times the desk, the furniture, they all have to be disinfected. So places like Ukambani, we are having lack of water. So how places like Machakos, how are they going to handle such situations? Those are my concerns. But personally, I would like to come back to school.
All right. Now, as a fourth-year student, have you been taking the online sessions that have been offered the past few months?
Yes, we've been taking the online examinations, online classes, but also concern is there are those students who will learn with who have not been able to access these services. They do not have smartphones, or the network in their sites are not.
All right. Now, given that you have been accessing the classes and you actually did exams, do you feel now that you have gone back to school for a week, you are in a position to pick up from where you left, given the fact that you have been doing the online classes? Do you feel enabled enough to pick up from where you left with your fourth-year studies?
As a fourth-year student, definitely, I want to finish school, so I do not have any bargain to say that I cannot pick it from where I am. I just have to go the way the situation is.
But what recommendations do you think are going to be put in place to help you as a student better thrive in your studies and just to pick up from where you were?
Definitely, with the schools in our country, all they want is the school fees, and they want to rush people to continue and finish their exams. So what I know is that the first week or the second week, they'll be like, hey, let's all learn. But after the 2 weeks or 3 weeks, teachers will be bringing exams for us. So we have no option. We just have to cope with how the institution will be engaging the students.
All right. Don't leave us. Just stay with us. We'll be back with you in a bit. Remember, we are talking about the reopening of schools. Just trying to hear from students and parents what they have to say in regards to this. This past Monday, we saw universities open their doors for students to report back to schools. We just want to see how many institutions have actually reopened. And for the Form 4, Class 8, and Form 4, Grade 4, Class 8 and Form 4 pupils who are expected to report back on Monday, what are their expectations as well as parents? Talk to us using the hashtag #GoodMorningKenya on Twitter. So right now we want to move on to my next guest, and that is Karen. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Tell us where you're coming to us live from this morning.
I'm coming to you live from Rongai, Kajiado County, and I'm a student at.
All right. What are your thoughts about this reopening of schools, given that we have seen universities opening this past Monday and primary schools and secondary schools opening next week on Monday?
Personally, I feel like they were ambushed, but then I also feel that maybe if we would have stayed longer, the government would never meet those requirements. So I think just okay that it has happened, and we just go back to school.
What reservations do you have as a student when you are going back to school? Do you feel safe enough?
My school hasn't opened. It was only open for the fourth year, so we were told for us, the schools may be opened later in the month. So for now, we just still there at home.
And have you still been taking online classes?
My school never had online classes, so we've never had any learning since March.
Okay. All right. Stay with us. We'll be coming back to you in a bit, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Let's now move on to Tim Ekesa, who is the director of CAC. Good morning, Tim. How are you?
Good morning to you, Regina.
I am sitting in for Regina this morning. This is Jane Wamboy. Karibu sana.
Who is it? Sorry, I can't see you. That's why I'm calling you Regina Jane. Sorry.
It is well. Yeah. Now, we have seen the CS give the directive to reopen primary schools and secondary schools, at least for grade 4, class 8, and Form 4 students. What are your thoughts about this? And you could just also let us know where you're coming to us live from.
Thank you, Jane. I'm coming you live from Nairobi. And I want to say that it's a good thing. I think the only place the children belong is school. It's a good thing to be done. But I think the biggest question that still remains, listening to the other people speaking, is the how. The when, now we know, but I think the how is very important. I like what Karen is saying, the preparation that we needed to make to open the schools. I think we need more discussions. We need more interactions with the children themselves and the students.
Yes.
Really, as we prepare them psychologically to be able to go to school. Because I know that we might, it's a long time. 6 months being at home is a long time. And it's important that we also just, again, take some time to be able to prepare them. I wish we started in March to prepare them for progressive return to school. Because to me, I think that's where they belong. But I think it's a bit rushed to say they're going back on Monday. I think there are many things that need to be put in place.
There are many things that need to be put in place. Now, we have seen some private schools, at least from the papers this morning, some private schools are saying that in order to readmit students back to school, they are going to be demanding school fees to be paid in full, and those who had arrears to clear them. How is this going to play off for parents who have been struggling financially?
It is going to be difficult because Corona has affected everybody. It didn't affect only private schools, it affected everybody in Kenya. And I know that it's going to be an uphill task for many parents to get all the fees. I think the same way the country is trying to move out of this Corona process as now the cases go down, the private school should also be lenient with the parents and progressively be able to get their fees. It's actually, like for us as an organization, we are lucky that we had paid some school fees, some children's school fees, the needy children. We paid all the whole year fees. I'm hoping that there'll be no fees being demanded again. But I know that there are many parents who live hand to mouth. They pay every term, and the private school fees is also very high. I think let them also do it in a progressive way so that we are all moving as one country and we're also getting children to where they belong to be. But otherwise, if we put very many big hindrances before the parents, like I saw yesterday in one of the communications,
yes.
one private school actually saying that if you didn't attend online classes, then you will have to be readmitted afresh. I'm thinking that's not necessary at all right now.
But looking at the struggle that the private school is actually going through, it's actually one of the stories that's on the papers this morning, saying if you did not attend the online classes, you are considered to have been deregistered from the school, and you'll have to go through the whole readmission process. Is this a fair way to go about just trimming down the numbers to be able to accommodate and comply with the MOH conditions about social distancing especially?
It might be, for the school it might be, but it's not in the best interest of the child. Every child deserves the right to be in school. Mm-hmm. And if the parent chose your school for the children to come there, it is up to you. And that's why the minister has been saying, prepare your schools for reopening. So there's no need of trying to thin down the children, coming up with issues that will help you to thin the children. But actually we should be even getting more children coming to school. But I think the most important thing I want to say that maybe we are not also focusing on, we are not taking a census of the children. Where are these children who are going to go to school? Some of them have either gotten married, some of them have gotten pregnant, some of them have been killed, like the boy who was killed in Moranga, a 15-year-old boy. I don't think he's going back to school. So we need to also take stock of where the children are. We might be saying, let us have the children go to school, but then we might end up finding no child in school. Like in one of the counties, last week, the children and the whole community believed the school ended. We finished all the school. I don't think we'll go back to school again. So what are we doing to bring them back? So it's good to go to school, but I think it's also good to take census and take stock of the children and also prepare the whole community psychologically that children actually need to go back to school. Because it was so abrupt when Corona came in, it was a presidential order and everything stalled. So what are we doing to restart this process of going back to school?
All right. Now, in just trying to get the schools to reopen, what do you think the schools need to do to just reassure their parents that, you know, we have abided to the regulations that the Ministry of Health are giving to us? And actually, the minister actually told all the schools to make sure that they are linked to a health facility just to be able to deal with any emergency COVID cases. What responsibility now falls on the schools?
The school has got a lot of responsibility right now. I think, to me, from where I sit, it is important for this, if they get their money today, it's important for the schools to try and get in touch with the parents and even with the students and assure them that the schools are okay. It's also important, even if it's only class 8 and Form 4 and class 4 who are opening, to progressively even get the other children to also just to come by the school and see how it is. And even for the parents to take time off and go to the schools before we take children there. Because if we just say, let them go, and some schools might be prepared, but some might not be prepared. Because we know this country, not all schools are the same level. There are some schools which are made of mud, who are struggling to put up a class. But there are some other schools who are putting up story buildings. So we are all at different levels. And I think it's just the preparedness is very important. And I think as parents and guardians, it will be very important for us to go to the schools, confirm they are okay before we let our children go in. Just avoid having any mishaps that might happen if we get children to go to schools which are not ready. Some of the schools we are told they are broken down, some of the desks are broken down. So where will the children be going? And I know the new tests that have been asked in one of the counties that we work with is when they just gave up the tender last week to start making 25 desks. So if you ask yourself in that way, when will the desks be ready for the schools?
All right. Now, in just trying to bear the burden as the parent and the schools as well, how then can we just try to support each other? You know, the school coming on the table with their suggestions and the parents also coming onto the table with their suggestions, especially looking at the financial responsibilities that are involved.
I think to me, the old adage comes back. It takes a village to raise a child. All of us need to put our hands together, whichever, be it a private sector, be it the parents, be it the children themselves, be it the school owners and the management. We need to put our hands together to actually take our children back to school because that's where they belong. They have missed a lot, and if everything is open, including the bus and the transport, then it's important for all of us to put our hands together to actually take the children. Let's not leave it to the minister or leave it to one section or leave it to the private school owners only. All of us have got a role to play to ensure that our children go back to school and follow the program that have been given by the ministry.
All right, that is Team Ekesa. Do stay with us. We'll be back with you. Remember, we are talking about the reopening of schools. Next week on Monday, grade 4, class 8 and Form 4 students are expected to report back to school for their second term studies, which will run for 11 weeks up until the 23rd of December. This close on the 24th, only to reopen on the 4th of January. But as they go back to school in less than a week's time, as a parent, are you ready to take your child back to school? Are you confident that they are going to be safe, given that, you know, the schools have a week to just get ready for these 3 levels of education? We want to hear from you. Share with us your thoughts using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. And there's one Mosweta Kibet on Twitter who's actually agreeing with what Salome was saying. He's actually saying, you are talking facts, Salome. It seems Magoha is living in Jerusalem. Everything will be a mess. Everything will be a mess and especially in our poverty-stricken country, because majority of our population are hustlers. Each year, April to July, our country is hit with a shortage of food. That is what Ms. Kibet is saying in regards to this conversation. Keep sharing with us your thoughts using hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter, and of course hashtag KBC Kid Talk. My handle is Jane Wambuya across all the social media platforms. We now want to take a very quick commercial break. Do stay with us. We'll be right back after these messages.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
The efficient utilization of water resources in the country for irrigation is a key driver of the food security pillar under President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda. This week on Project 254.
Kwa sahi ukiangalia unaona kila mtu wako kwa shamba. Tunapalilia na tunafurahi kwa sababu tunapalilia na maji iko ndani.
Tukikuja hapa tunapata pesa yenye tukirudi nayo nyumbani inatusaidia, tunapata chakula.
Saa hizi tuko na meal hapa, hatuendi Mwea. Hii nikivuna mchele yangu hapa napeleka kwa store.
Only on KBC Channel 1.
On the next episode of
Kwani nyumbani wapigwa? Nataka uwe kama wanaume wengine.
Okay. Niambie, wanaume wao wanaume wengine wakoje?
Ondoka, subiria nini? Jamani Maria. Nini kwani akiondoka yeye mimi napungukiwa na nini huko ndani? Huyu hapo aseme kama namsemea uongo. Nyoa nini mwenyewe? Sema kama nakusemea uongo.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Mwalimu, angisi mother shares Zimbabwean Day with Falas Girlfriend.
Really? What a weird coincidence.
You and I both can agree that all this is not for Sisha.
Saitan. See, I thought we said we are not going to speak about that Jetien again. Why are you spoiling my mood here?
Please, Yose, what is wrong, eh?
Please, what? You think I'm one of those women you are calling?
Mwalimu, can you imagine Sister wants to kill Ngalo?
Or maybe it is you.
Me? Why? What did I do to you?
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Freeze! This is a holdup.
Ease up there, Casper.
I wouldn't do that.
You're not a rapper.
So pull your pants up.
Guess who's back in town? Who? Annie Streets. I was gonna catch a movie tomorrow night.
By yourself?
You know that Mexican guy you arrested?
You don't know who you're messing with. Release my brother if you want to see her alive.
Where do you think you're going?
I'm going to Mexico.
No, you're not going to Mexico.
When danger becomes a reality, it must be met head on.
12 gauge in the knee seat. Gonna raise a little hand up. Off the red man to ride. I'm a redneck fool in a four-wheel drive. Got a 12 gauge in the...
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Why it seems that the boy child is struggling.
With the absence of fathers, men have grown up looking to their mothers as the images of what it means to be a man. The issue we're having with men, it's more of a fatherhood problem than it is a masculine problem.
The men around us are not just doing what they need to do. So what is the girl child supposed to do? Step up and be the man.
When parents overstretch the season of taking care of the child, there's a damage that's happening to that young man.
We have a lot of women giving undue attention to how they look on the outside, but they don't give the same effort and attention to what they are on the inside.
As the girl child is cultivating beauty from the inside out, I am raising kings who will marry that girl.
Thank God.
For a long time I didn't have money, but I had a dream. I used to date her when I used to wear one pair of jeans every other day.
Is this true? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. My name is Juno Amboy. Glad you are still with us. Now we want to continue with our conversation for the day. This is all about the reopening of schools. As a parent, are you ready? As a student or a pupil, are you ready to go back to school come Monday, the 12th of October? And as teachers, how ready are you to take back the students, given you have the responsibility to just make sure that they are social distancing, they are putting on their masks and sanitizing at the different points that have been put in place as and when necessary to do so. That is what we're trying to find out. And this morning we have a variety of stakeholders in regards to these conversations. We have students, we have teachers, and also we have parents just joining us to share with us their thoughts in regards to this conversation. And before we continue with this particular conversation, I see Bayside on a Twitter saying, this is like sending our children to daycare. The responsibility that has been placed on teachers is too enormous for them to actually undertake their responsibility when it comes to teaching. Now, looking at that particular tweet and getting back to the conversation, I am now joined by Jasper, who is a teacher. Good morning, Jasper.
Good morning. Thank you, Jen, for inviting me to the show.
Thank you for making time to be with us this morning. Kindly tell us where you're joining us live from.
I'm live from Nairobi, a place called Ika.
All right, awesome. Now, as a teacher, do you feel ready enough to go back to school and, just take on your responsibilities when it comes to teaching, as well as making sure that you are following the Ministry of Health guidelines?
On my part, I've always been ready to receive the learners. I've really missed them, and though I've been teaching a number of them online, but there is that interaction that as a teacher, you'll always miss that one-on-one interaction. I really miss them, and I'm looking forward to receiving them back on Monday, though I know quite a number of them are tormented psychologically. The parents, others may not even come back because the parents might not be having fees. You had earlier hinted out that the private schools are telling the parents, can you clear the fees before you come in? And my panelists here have really taken a swipe against the government. Remember, the private schools had asked for a 7 billion stimulus package, and the government went mute on it. So the private schools have no option but to require the parents to pay that particular fees. In some schools, they will increase because they need money in order to offer services. They cannot offer services where there is no money. Private schools are not charity organizations, so they need money in order to provide the services. So I understand the trouble with the parents, but also on the other hand, it's a private school where you are taking your child to, and your child needs to eat, needs to be supplied with books, teachers need to be paid. So it is a difficult situation, and I think the outrage the parents should have, it is not to the private schools, it is to the government that it has not acted. The private schools are requested for a 7 billion stimulus package. The government didn't respond, and then the private schools have no option but to extend that particular burden to the parents. So it is a difficult scenario. I understand where the private schools are coming from. Myself being a teacher in a private school.
Okay. Now, we saw the Ministry of Health also say that it is up to the teacher to ensure that the kids are social distancing, they are putting on their masks as and when necessary, and of course, sanitizing and washing their hands as often as possible. Do you feel this will interfere with your delivery in terms of teaching and making sure that the studies are not affected?
Yes, that will interfere with the interaction. I think you've seen some memes on WhatsApp where some learners are putting on masks and then they are making noise, and then the teacher cannot really know which learner is doing that. And also even talking, you know, in communication, when you're talking, the lips really play a big role in being understood. So there is going to be those bottlenecks where the teachers might not really be understood well by the learners, and even at some point the teacher might tell the learner, can you remove your mask so that I can hear what you're saying? You know, there are some teachers in the village there who don't hear well. I mean, they'll have to tell a learner, can you remove your mask first so that I can be able to hear you? So that is really going to be a challenge. The issue about social distancing, the government gave it a backseat. They said that allow learners to just come, don't send them away in case there is a lack of enough space. So the schools are in a very bad fix, and I hope that the government was going to address this particular issue. That is why I expected the CS to hold a press conference to talk to parents instead of sending a very short circular to schools.
All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts. Do stay with us. We'll be back with you in not too long. But we now move on to another teacher. I believe this is Wambui More. Good morning, Wambui.
Good morning, Jane.
Thank you for being with us this morning. Now, we want to hear from you as a teacher. With a week to go, do you feel this is adequate time for you as a trainer to just prepare to receive the students, given you have to adhere to all these guidelines?
I think time has come for children to go to school. Okay. Not that everything is in place, but because this waiting can't go on forever. As a campaigner for children's environmental rights, I would like to advise schools to get everybody involved together, the parents, the children, the teachers, and work on their own particular needs, requirements in their school. They need to look at their toilets. They need to look at their classes. Maybe where children are too many and we've been told not to keep children away from school. Maybe they can find another place outside, maybe where they can separate the children so that they learn in different places. It is very, very important, even as we obey what the government is saying, that we look at the environment we are sending our children to. And I feel for teachers. I really feel for teachers. I wish they had been given a little more help, some talking to, some discussions. They will be anxious. They have to face this. They are human beings. They are facing possible infections in their classes, in themselves, taking infections back home. You know, I feel for the teachers. And therefore, the schools need to discuss their individual challenges, environmental challenges, even as they implement what the government is saying.
Now, as an educator, what concerns do you have in respect to the school, the students, and the parents' commitment and the role they have to play in bringing the children back to school?
To do with the attitude. There are so many voices. Some are saying we shouldn't go to school, back to school. Some people have even gone to court to try and stop this. And I think it is really sad for the children. They are hearing so much, so many different opinions. I think we need to get this together, and that's why I'm saying some of these things will have to be done face to face with the children when they come back to school, with the teachers, with the parents. There is need to come together and talk and have a positive attitude about this, because eventually, whether it is now or January, schools have to open, people have to go back to school, private schools have to face up to whatever challenges they have, and children have to learn. Let's all do everything it takes to put the system back in place. So attitude is what I would be concerned about.
Okay, and in trying to get the system back in place and to where it was, do you feel this phased reopening is actually the proper way to go about it, or just children should have been allowed to go back to school, the whole lot, to just see how things will play out?
I don't think it would have been possible to bring all the children to school together. I think there is need to look at what challenges are being faced, and how to look at that is with a few of them. So I think this is the way to go. I don't agree with giving them just a few days to take children back to school. It should have been given at least a month or so. So I think we are doing well in taking a few back to school, but the time is too short.
All right. And what about schools that are telling parents, if your child was not enrolled for the online program, we are going to consider you have withdrawn from school and you have to re-register and to be able to be accepted back into the school? Is this a fair way to go about, just trying to trim down the numbers of those who are going to be reporting back to schools? At least what some private schools are doing.
I think this is fair, because a child may not have gone on to engage in the online learning for various reasons. Some people are, like somebody said, are in places where there is no network. Some do not have smartphones. Some parents don't even know how to go about engaging in the online learning. This is not fair. They should allow them. And then the minister said that the syllabus or the curriculum will start where it left. Those who attended have an advantage, but those who did not attend should also be given a chance to catch up. I don't think it is fair.
All right. Thank you so much, Wambui. Do stay with us. We now want to move on to Brian, who I believe is a parent. Good morning, Brian. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning.
Tell us where you are joining us live from.
I'm joining from Nairobi. Yeah.
All right.
And for me, Brian.
What are your thoughts about this reopening of schools that is less than a week away?
I think, as most have said, the kids should go back to school, but a lot has to be done in the schools to ensure the safety of the children not contracting the virus.
Right, Brian, maybe hold on for a minute. Just allow me to
The Ministry of Education
right there.
and the Ministry of Health will have worked together to probably do mass testing of the students.
All right, Brian, we'll be coming back to you in a bit. There is some interference in the background of one of our Zoom guests. So if you are watching us and you are also joining us via Zoom, kindly just mute your TV. You'll be able to watch the conversation later. But remember, we just want to engage Brian in regards to this whole conversation. But before we get to Brian, just looking at what you guys are saying here on Twitter. Let me quickly refresh my page and get your thoughts using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya, just trying to see what you guys think about this reopening of schools that is less than a week to go. And parents have been told to take their children back to school, and this is grade 4, class 8 and form 4 students. Mr. Elite is saying Kenya's second wave is about to hit us and the children will be the ones to suffer the most. Well done, Ministry of Health. That is satirical, and his thoughts right there. We also have Steve, who is saying this government does not care about us. How dare they direct schools to reopen, yet all schools have not complied with the Ministry of Health safety regulations. Secondly, all parents are broke with wage cutoffs while others lost their jobs. CS Magoha did not address these key issues. Keep sharing with us your thoughts in regards to the reopening of schools using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya as well as KBC Kids Talk. Now let's get back to our guest, that is Brian, joining us from Meru. Thank you, Brian, for staying with us. You were sharing with us your thoughts in regards to this reopening of schools.
Yeah, my thoughts were, as the kids are going back to school, my wish was maybe the Ministry of Education will have worked closely, which I'm sure they are doing, but they will have worked more closely with the Ministry of Health and maybe do some testing as the kids are going back to school, and ensure that the social distancing is well adhered to with the protocols from the Ministry of Health. But from my end, I think it's a good idea to reopen the schools. Being a parent, the kids are just becoming restless in the house.
Yes.
They are becoming restless and they are becoming a bit like stubborn, so they need to be engaged. And going back to school, I think is a good idea. Those are my points. Thanks.
Do you think this phased reopening is going to be a proper determinant of the safety of our children?
In like we are coming out of the pandemic, it's good to do it in a phased approach. We can't like just let the entire mass of the students to go back to school. Let's do it in a phased approach. The grade 4s, the class 8s, and the form 4s, they go there maybe a month. With the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education, looking at how the learning is going on, and that will help now with determining how now we continue with the other students going back to school.
All right, now before I let you go, looking at the financial responsibility that is involved in the reopening of the school, how can the parents and the school try to find a middle ground to allow children to go back to school and also put the school in a position to be able to accommodate the children, the financial responsibility?
Yeah, since the pandemic started, everyone has had that strain financially. Most people where they are working, most people were laid off, some people were given 50% salaries. So for me, what I think can work best is for the schools and the parents to agree through probably the PTAs to agree that the fee payment should be like if should be maybe prorated in such a way that if a parent can afford this at this time, let them pay. But if they cannot afford, let's not chase the children out of school. Let's prorate it based on the ability of the parent to do the payment, especially in the private schools. There are parents who are some parents who are not like much affected financially. Let them pull in and support these schools that they take their children to. Yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Brian, for your contribution in regards to this conversation. Now, I also have Davy Moore on Twitter who's saying, it is only in Kenya where a 9-year-old grade 4 learner is allowed to go to school, but a 24-year-old third year is told it's not safe for him to go back to school. The irony of this country. Keep sharing with us your thoughts. We now move on to my next guest. I believe this is Pius. Good morning. Maratani joining us from Nakuru, I believe. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me clear, Regina?
Yes, loud and clear. This is Wamboi sitting in for Regina. We want to just get to know your... Welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you very much, Wamboi. We so much used to Regina, that doesn't matter. Well, straight to the point.
Yes.
Actually, there is something that I don't understand. And that is the underlying word. Because parents, we've been having so many issues. Some of our students or our kids have traveled. Some have been engaged in other activities, and parents don't have enough money. Now, if we just abruptly say that we open the schools, this is going to be a tall order to parents. And also, you can realize that, in fact, we don't have facilities, meaning some students have grown big. They cannot even fit in their uniforms.
Yeah.
We need to go an extra mile and plan. So I don't understand why the hurry for. Because, well, we understand it is a good idea for students to open in beats. But now, can we have time to plan? Can we have time to discuss about this issue before we plunge into it? Because at the end of it, it can cost us a lot. So parents, we are requesting, let's not do testing of, or maybe doing an experiment on our children. We need at least to have some good time, we plan, and roll out this project in order. Otherwise, we appreciate the government what it's doing, but it is going to cost us a lot as parents, because it will be so bad. For 6 months, some people have been away from work.
Yes.
Some people have used their savings. Now, how will it be that you just going to take some money, or where will you get the money now to take the children's back? So to me, the word is, can we understand? Thank you.
All right. And what recommendations do you think would actually go a long way in helping this phase reopening actually become a gradual but reality for our students, our teachers, and even the ministry?
I think the best thing, let maybe the Form 4s open and start at 8. But where the problem is coming is the grade 4.
Yes.
You can imagine who are these grade 4. Yeah, it is gone far. It's gone far. Just like I'm talking because I've gotten in that bracket, but now the school, they are still organizing, they're still discussing on modalities they are going to go through, because I know very well the protocols have not been observed. In other institutions like hotels, we were given some time to see on which or how do we carry on for, how do we do some procedures before we plunge into the new style of running the business. Even the schools now, they were closed down. They have not implemented some other things. So it will be a tall order. If we just rush, then we close again. It will be very expensive. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Maratani, joining us from Nakuru. We now want to move on to Mombasa for our final guest this morning, and this is Ruth Luguna. Good morning, Ruth.
Good morning.
How are you? Thank you for joining us this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Now, as a Class 8 pupil, are you ready to go back to school next week on Monday?
I'm not really sure. Yes, I'm ready to go to school because, like, it's a long time since I've been back to school. We have stayed home for 6 months, and it's about time that you go back to school. But it's not going to be that easy because of how the government has set the timing of going back to school and
What concerns do you have about your personal safety when you want to go back to school? What is really that is making you feel not too sure that you're ready to go?
The classroom setting, because the teachers are going to be having a problem with setting all the children. Grade 4s are going back to school, candidates are going back to school. And it's not going to be easy because the teachers also have to go through this. If a child gets sick, it's going to be on the teachers. If anything happens, it's going to be on the teachers. And it's not going to be easy at all.
Do you think you'll be able to maintain the social distance, given you're going to be seeing your friends after such a long time?
Maybe, probably.
Maybe, probably. So what then do you think can be done to help you feel more comfortable to go back to school?
Pardon?
What do you think can be done to help you feel more comfortable to go back to school next week on Monday? And this includes what the teachers can do, what your school can do, what your parents can do. What are some of those things?
It's that the guidelines should be a bit more strict on how the pupils are going to go back to school, because they have only told us the the date. They have not told us how we are going back to school. They have not told us if there's going to be a meeting for us, like, to talk about it. Nothing has happened much besides being told the date, and that's not very safe. And remember, these are parents who are going to be letting their children going back to school, while also others are going to be remaining home. That means, like, for example, I'm at home and I have a brother. So I'm going to be going back to school and he's going to be left at home. So that's a risk for me while the other child is at home, who is my brother. So I don't think parents feel safe, but the government have decided that children are going back to school, but they have not set it very clear.
Okay. Has your school communicated as to how they have prepared to receive you? Have you gotten a call saying, they have distanced the desks in the classroom, they have put sanitizers, they have thermometers to check your temperatures? Have you gotten communication from your school?
Yes, my school communicated, and they only told us to go to school on Friday normally. So I think that's what is going to be happening. I don't know much, but all I was told is that you're just going to go to school on Friday.
All right. And what would you like to tell your fellow classmates who you're going to be meeting when you go back to school on Friday to just help protect yourselves?
Be wise and stay safe.
I like that. Be wise and stay safe. Thank you so much, Ruth.
Thank you.
All right. Now, I believe we are almost out of time in regards to this particular conversation, but we thoroughly appreciate you for joining us, and also our guests all for joining us via Zoom. We appreciate you for making time to be with us this morning. Thank you for your time. And before we get to close, we want to run for you a feature that was done by Regina Manyara in regards to, some of the consequences that arose as a result of this pandemic and all of us being at home. And this is the story of one young girl who one chief, that is Chief John Kidali, who has been trying to fight child exploitation, given it is one of the reasons that are being fronted as to why we need to reopen schools to protect our children from early marriages, teen pregnancies, and consequently child exploitation. So have a look at this particular story of one young girl who was sexually violated by an 80-year-old gentleman. Not gentleman for that matter.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1 for a program that is objective and offers answers to matters economic, security, social, political, food, infrastructure, and setting the agenda. Join us for Charging Currents.
The efficient utilization of water resources in the country for irrigation is a key driver of the food security pillar under President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda.
Hizi tuko na mill hapa, hatuendi Mwea. Hii nikivuna mchele yangu hapa napeleka kwa store.
Only on KBC Channel 1.
Next on
ما نسمع اسم النبي لازم نصلي عليه اللهم صل عليه.
Katika mambo ya kawaida, mapenzi itoke upande wetu kwa kumpenda Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala.
Miongoni mwa manufaa ya kupendwa na Mwenyezi Mungu ni kuwa Allah atawafanya binadamu nao pia wakupende, na mambo yako yatakuwa rahisi, dua zako zitakuwa zinakujibiwa, na Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala pia atakuwa anakulinda.
Lamma tiji sirti nabi nibdaha bis-salah.
On the next episode of
Kwani ni mwendo wa upigwa?
Nataka uwe kama wanaume wengine.
Okay. Niambie. Wanaume wengine wakoje?
Ondoka, subiria nini?
Jamani Maria.
Nini kwani akiondoka yeye mimi napungukiwa na nini huko ndani? Huyu hapo aseme kama nakusemea uongo. Ni wa nini mwenyewe? Sema kama nakusemea uongo.
Tujali kazi zenu
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Do you even know anything about that man? Nipe dakika 5. Nitakuwa nimejua kila kitu.
I don't even know if that gym will still be standing by the end of the month. Unataka kuimba mwa? What a shame.
Kuros loves me. He wants to marry me.
You shouldn't be rushing into this thing.
Boss, mimi ni pro kwa hii game. Chenye tuna discuss na wewe inaishi hapa. But pia kama unitrust, unaweza pia ukanifaya.
Wish was not to get married in 2 weeks time.
She's getting married?
Hiyo hakukwambia.
Poverty has exacerbated child labor, with children forced to engage in income-earning activities to remain at school, or in worst-case scenarios, some have to work to stay alive.
So wengine mnaweza fanya kazi, pate labda mfanye na watu wakubwa, watachukua mshahara wote waende nayo. Natoka siku umefanya kazi but unarudi nyumbani bure. Kurudi nyumbani bila chochote sometimes. Na umefanya kazi. Uende nyumbani upate hakuna chakula, unalala hivyo na umetoka kufanya kazi. Ningeomba mbunge wetu Charles Gimose kuja hivi atupatie mabasaris. Tukienda shule tusome poa. Akuje ka unaweza enda shuleni ukose labda una nini pocket money. Kuja tusaidie na pocket money. Atugawie ka vitabu. Sometimes unaenda shuleni una kitabu. Inabidi ndio uchukue kitabu ilisha ya primary. Ndio peane ndio wakuchenchie. Na ukigundua sometimes unakosa kitabu, inabidi labda ile lesson uja attend.
John Kidali, Senior Chief Budanga Location, says the high cost of living and the harsh economic times have made efforts to eradicate child labor an uphill task.
Initially, this area used to be a very poor area. So parents were using their children to work in the neighborhoods, where those neighbors that were a bit well up, so that they can get money, and they use that money to buy food in their homes. But that thing right now has changed, because we started, before I even joined administration, those leaders who were ahead of us, they started now educating and sensitizing parents and the community.
Yeah, it depends. Inadepende venye umekam up kwa familia yenu. But it is not good for a child to work for her parents. Unaona? Kila mtu anakuwa na right yake. Sasa being that my mom was there, yeye mwenyewe pia namuona, haizi fanya lolote. Ndio maana nilienda hapo.
While on the line of duty, Chief Kidali has dealt with several cases But one case stands out. A 7-year-old girl was defiled by an 80-year-old man.
We had an incident whereby a child was being used by the parents to go and sell ripened bananas, boiled maize and sugarcane along the roadside. So by doing that, you know, the child got to interact with the elder men, elder boys. Now they started enticing her with the little presents like money, mandazis, and now it was easy to confuse that lady, that girl. And there is a case that happened one day. An old mzee aged around 80 years had to defile that girl, and that was as a result of maybe getting to interact with her from time to time. They used to come and purchase things from the girl, and then they give her also extra money which she could use on buying other things like sweets, like mandazis, and it was very easy to convince her that they go announce that making those funny things. Was 7 years old. 7 years old, a primary school girl, born out of, was under the care of a single mother, but the mother now used to work in Nairobi. So that case went to the police, and this Mzee had money, so he was trying to play around with the case so that the case does not get to the court. So I had to intervene. We made noise, we consulted the police officers, we had to talk to the members of the community, and we were able to make sure that that case was taken to court and that Mzee was arrested. In fact, the case is still ongoing in the court.
While poverty remains a major catalyst for child labor in the area, some cultural practices and tradition have also exposed children to exploitation.
They are looking for cheap labor. They are looking for the life of today, living out the life of tomorrow, which is the life of that children or her child, because of looking for just ugali. That one is also a child labor. And customarily, other tribes, to challenge them is not easy. It is their behavior. And the behavioral attitude of somebody needs counseling.
For Japheth Okwadachi, the chair of the Kapunja Child Labor Free Zone, traditions and culture that are retrogressive and expose children to exploitation should be eradicated for future prosperity. Regina Manyara, reporting for Channel 1.
How are you doing? We trust that your Thursday is up and running just fine. Welcome to the only way to start your morning. Good morning, Kenya. My name is Samuel Njoroge. Now, something clearly caught the frenzy of my co-host here. Apparently, kwa baby shower ya Wakikuyu, huwezi jua ni nani ako na mimba. That has got her so cracked up. It's just the only way to start her morning, right? My name is Samuel Njoroge, and this is Entertainment Thursday. Would like to kick off this segment by appreciating talent that is making a buzz right here in the country. And today it's no different. Tuko na msanii wa Injili, ama nyimbo za Injili, anafahamika kama Pastor Helen. It's okay. Kiswahili yangu imeishia hapo, by the way. Pastor Helen, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Yeah. Kila kitu iko salama?
Kabisa, kabisa.
Nice.
Nashukuru.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh my. My name is Helen. Najulikana kama Pastor Helen. Nimetoka sehemu za Embu.
Kianja Koma.
Yes, Embu, Kianja Koma. Hapo Kamogere.
I had to say that for my producer.
Yeah. Yes. That's where I come from. I know my mom is watching from Kamugere. I know my dad is watching. I just want to say hi. Yeah.
Salamu ni muhimu.
Yeah, my dad is Joseph Jiru.
Yeah.
and my mom at Embu anaitwa Eunice Jerry, and my mom here in Nairobi, mother-in-law, anaitwa Mary Wangari.
And I saw you married.
Yeah. I'm married, and my husband is also watching from Kikuyu.
Husband,
my husband, Anthony Motahi.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And safari yako ya usanii ilianza vipi?
Safari yangu ya usanii ilianza wakati nilikuwa katika pilika za Injili. Nilikuwa na hudumu, na wakati wowote ningeenda mahali kuhudumu nilikuwa naambia Mungu nipatie kipaji cha uimbaji. Maana nilijipata kila wakati kabla nihubiri ningeimba wimbo wa mtu fulani ambaye ametangulia kuimba. Lakini wakati mmoja Mungu akaninenea akaweka wimbo ndani ya moyo wangu. That is the 5 years ago. 5 years ago. Na nikanjipata nimeenda studio nikarekodi wimbo wangu pale Dede Studio. Yeah.
Which was your first song?
My first song is Kiswahili one, ambayo inasema upendo wa Yesu. Na ingine ya pili nimerekodi inasema Amani Kenya. Katika ile album ya upendo wa Yesu kuna nyimbo 7, lakini ninayoipenda zaidi ni upendo wa Yesu na ingine ya lugha ya mama. Yeah.
Sasa utapata kwamba kila msanii yako na ushuhuda ama jambo ambalo lilimfanya akaanza kuimba.
Ni kweli.
Lipi hilo kwako?
Mimi kuanzilisha uimbaji ilikuwa sehemu ya kuhubiri kwangu. Ilikuwa kufikisha ujumbe. Nilikuwa niambie Wakenya ambao singeweza kuwafikia moja kwa moja ya kwamba naweza pasa sauti waweze kuisikia wakiwa mahali walipo. Ilikuwa tu njia ya kuwasilisha ujumbe. Yeah.
Unajua kuna wasanii wengi watasema kwamba niko na kipaji lakini familia hainipi motisha, mwanangu hataki niimbe. Je, kwako mambo ilikuwa vipi?
Kwangu mambo imekuwa, Mungu amenineemesha kwa sababu mume wangu ameshikilia huduma yangu, siwezi nikalalamika, nimebarikiwa kwa sababu anatambua mwito ulio ndani yangu. Hivyo basi ninajipata hata nikienda studio ananipeleka. Nikienda pale nje kuhubiri mume wangu ananipeleka. Hivyo basi kwa mambo kama hayo sijapata matatizo, ila kupeleka sasa muziki uchezo hiyo ndio imekuwa changamoto.
Katika radio, matelevisheni.
Hivyo sasa.
Tunashukuru Mungu kwa KBC leo.
Nashukuru Mungu kwa KBC. Nashukuru kabisa.
Na utapata ya kwamba kuna watu watasema nilipata changamoto fulani ama kuna ile jambo ambalo lilikuwa linanitatiza wakati ambapo nilikuwa natunga wimbo ama nafanya injili. Pengine kwako miaka 5 baadaye nilipi hilo?
Changamoto. Changamoto ambayo mmoja nimeipata ni wakati unatafuta ile hela ya kulipa wimbo studioni. Imekuwa changamoto kiasi, lakini pole tu nikiweka moja mwezi huu ingine unaingia kwa ingine, sasa imekuwa ndivyo hivyo, lakini neema inatosha. Neema inatosha.
Kuna watu fulani hapo wananipatia changamoto na heshima idumu ati Kiswahili yangu imekataa. Sitaki kusikia hayo maneno. Sawa. Sitaki kusikia hayo maneno. A brother is allowed to try. Si ndio, Pastor Ellen?
Very true.
Yes, a brother is allowed to try. And to dream also. You never know.
Very true.
Could be holding brief for Kadzo tomorrow on Kudzacha. So I have to practice. But now getting back to your music. 5 years down the line, what has been the most defining moment for you? Ellen?
The most defining moment for me is that today I'm here. That's one.
Nice.
And I'm happy and I thank God that through KBC Good Morning Kenya program I can be able to talk to somebody far away all over the country. I'm so humbled for that. And I'm doing well and I'm progressing on gospel line.
Nice.
Yeah.
You said earlier that you used to preach.
Yes.
And then a preamble to your sermon was a song.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
It made me feel good because now what I was preaching and what I've been preaching and what I'm preaching even today now was translated to a song. It felt good because it came out clearer than preaching it. Yes.
Clearer than preaching.
Yes.
Na kuna watu husema maybe kidogo mziki ya injili siku hizi imetohoa ama watu wanaenda si sambamba vile. What's your take on that?
Inategemea msingi ni upi. Kwa sababu pia msingi inakujenga na inakuwezesha. Kile kinatoka ndani yako inategemea na msingi wako. Your foundation matters a lot. It will usher you. It will give you the type of a song that you are going to record. And the type of ones that you are going to tell people. Depends with your foundation in God.
How was your foundation?
My foundation was good and is still good, is still intact. I thank God for that. Kwa hivyo nashukuru Mungu kwa sababu ya wale wachungaji ambao wamenishikilia wakiwa mji wa Kamugere. I salute you guys wherever you are. Yes, na mtu ambaye ameendelea kujenga maisha yangu kiroho na mahali nimefika. Apostle Chris Bravery, ukiwa RGCC Manyata. I salute you, sir. I salute you, Daddy. Still, you are doing good work in my life.
Right.
Yeah.
So far, do you have an album?
Yes.
Okay, talk to us about your album.
My album is entitled Weonanie. It's a Kikuyu song. Ambayo inasema ni wimbo ambao uliingia kwa maisha yangu nikiwa katika hali duni sana. Nilikuwa nimefinyika na hali ya maisha. Lakini wakati Mungu aliweka ule wimbo ndani yangu, baada ya kuenda studioni na nikaurekodi, ule wimbo ulituliza mawazo yangu na ukatuliza maisha yangu. Kuna ile hali ambayo ilitulia baada ya kutoa huo wimbo. Na nikaendelea hivyo nikirekodi wimbo wa pili, wa tatu mpaka wimbo wa 7. Na sasa hivi tunavyoongea nimeenda studioni mara ingine na rekodi albamu ya pili na iko na wimbo ambao unasema Amani Kenya.
Umesema ulikuwa unapitia hali fulani ambayo ilikufanya ukaingia studioni, kufanya wimbo kisha ukatulia. Hali hiyo ni ipi?
Ni hali ambayo ni tatanishi, maana siwezi nikaisema hapa.
Ni ya kibinafsi.
Ni ya kibinafsi, lakini Mwokozi ametenda. Alituliza hiyo hali. Akaituliza. Lakini sio kijamii na sio kihuduma. Si jamii na sio huduma.
Na si ugonjwa pia.
Na si ugonjwa pia.
Tuashukuru.
Amen.
Tuashukuru. Sasa moving forward, Helen, you've got an album that's coming up. Na umesema iko na wimbo ambao unaitwa Amka Kenya?
Amani Kenya.
Amani Kenya, sorry.
Amani Kenya.
What do you intend God to do through that album? What do you intend to see God do through your second album?
I'm trusting God to make Kenyans understand that everyone has a responsibility. Everyone has a mandate to maintain peace wherever you are. Yes.
And when you look at the industry as it is right now, for you, because you've chosen gospel music, where are the opportunities for growth? And I'm asking this on behalf of any upcoming gospel musician who's watching you this morning.
The opportunities, oh my goodness.
Jukuna nyote sema fine, lazima uchague. Either you do the ministry or you pursue the industry. Sindio?
Yeah.
Either uende kwa huduma ama utengeneza pesa. Where are the opportunities?
In the ministry.
Kwa nini?
Because the Bible says, seek ye the kingdom of God first, and every other thing shall be added unto you. And therefore, when you do the ministry, do the work of God, pesa itakufuata. Because I always believe that provisions always precedes the calling of God upon your life. Yes.
Provision will always precede the calling of God upon your life. Have you witnessed that as an artist?
Yes, I'm a living testimony.
How so? Share just a bit of that testimony.
All right. Many other times that God speaks to my fellow ministers, and they feel that I need to connect with Pastor Helen. And anytime they call me, we do ministry with all my heart, with everything that I have, with all my strength. At the end of that ministry, there is a blessing that comes along with what I do. Yes, you don't need to follow money. Just follow the call of God upon your life. Follow your life purpose. The rest shall be added unto you.
Lakini hawa wasanii wadogo na I'm making reference to the young artists, those who are coming up. They're in it for the swag, they're in it for the money, they're in it for the fame. And kuna watu watauliza, is there anything wrong with that?
There are so many things wrong with that, because I only advise, if you are there and you are watching me, you are listening to me, I would just advise you, ingia ndani ya Mungu kwanza, wachana na mambo mengine yote, Mungu atayashughulikia. That's all what I can tell you there when you are out there, because when God's favor shall rest upon your life, money, fame, and everything that you desire shall not be a problem to you.
Nice.
Yeah.
And earlier on ulikuwa umetuambia venye bwanako amekusupport sana katika hii ministry.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about the nature of support that your husband has given you in ministry.
Because, okay, in ministry, he has been a pillar. Let me say, many other times I go for missions, even for a week, Ari is at home with kids and doing everything. It is a pressure, it is a honor.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wampea shukrani.
Nakupatia shukrani zote.
Naam.
Yeah.
Na utamwandalia which meal? Ni gani anapenda sana?
Anapenda matoke stew.
Aha.
Yeah.
So utamwandalia leo ama
leo lazima. Leo lazima. Leo lazima.
And when you have kids too.
Yes, I have.
You said earlier you have kids. When you look at them, what is that one thing you desire most for your children, even as they continue growing up?
I desire that they have the spirit that I carry. I desire to impart them with the desire of God that I have in my spirit. I always desire. I know they are watching. Lawrence, I know you are watching. Chantel and Jael, I know you are watching at home. But it is my desire that you grow and increase in God and in favor of men and God also. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Na kuna kale kamoja unaangalia hivi unaona kanaweza imba.
My two girls.
Unaangalia hivi unaona hapa kuna potential.
Kuna mziki. Chantel and Jael, I know they are coming up well.
All right.
Yeah.
So in 5 or 10 years to come,
yeah,
where would you like to see your ministry?
Wow. It has been a big dream in my life. It is well drawn. It is well in my heart, in my spirit, in my mind. I know in the next 10 years, I know the prayer that I've presented before God, I know He's going to answer very faithfully because He's a faithful God. And my desire and my prayer is to reach the whole world through my ministry, touching and imparting souls. Yeah.
Nice. So I'd like you to take some time.
Yeah.
This is your camera right here, camera 5.
Yeah.
And just talk to people out there. Give them a message you'd like to leave with them this morning, moving forward.
Now, I'm happy to tell you something this morning. I'm here for a reason, and I'm talking to you with a purpose. You are there, you are watching me, you are there, you are listening to me, and you are asking yourself, now, I have a call of God in my life, but you don't know where to begin. You don't know who to run to. I just want to tell you that remain faithful in God. Be persistent in your calling. Remain focused in your calling. I know challenges will come along the way. I know distractors will be real in your life. But just maintain the possibility mentality that it shall be well with you. In everything that you are doing, God will come for you.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. Thank you for coming, Pastor Helen.
Yes.
Asante sana for coming. I've learned quite a number of things courtesy of this interview. I'm very sure hata viewers wamesikia Matu akiambiwa aeke ngoma. So I'm very sure the song is coming up. Ni Upendo Wake?
Upendo wa Yesu.
Upendo wa Yesu, right?
Na Amani Kenya.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So those songs are coming up as we take this break. We are transitioning now to yet another artist. That is what I was told by my co-host this morning. He does pencil art. You'll be seeing him in just a short while. He's literally done a portrait of me. Yes, he has. We'll be talking about that and much more after these songs.
Sijaona upendo kama
kwenye njia zako sitaondoka mimi, nitaishi kukuabudu. Kwenye njia zako sitaondoka mimi, nitaishi kukuabudu. Magonjwa yangu uliyabeba, magonjwa yangu kanibebea, shinda zangu zote ulibeba Yesu, nakupenda rafiki yangu. Wewe ni mwema rafiki wa kweli, nitaishi kukuabudu. Wewe ni mwema rafiki wa kweli, nitaishi kukuabudu. Sitaondoka kwenye njia zako, sitaondoka mimi, nitaishi kukuabudu. Njia zako, kwenye njia zako sitaondoka mimi, nitaishi kukuabudu. Kwenye njia sitaondoka, kwenye njia sitaondoka. Waliponiacha nilibaki na wewe, kanipanguza machozi yangu Yesu. Walipoondoka nilibaki na wewe, kanipanguza machozi yangu Yesu. Sitakuacha milele yote, niende wapi rafiki yangu? Sitakuacha milele yote, niende wapi rafiki yangu? Rafiki mwema, kwenye njia zako sitaondoka mimi, nitaishi kukuabudu. Kwenye njia zako sitaondoka mimi, nitaishi kukuabudu. Nakuaminia maisha yangu, nitawale uniongoze. Neno lako liwe taa yangu Baba, niangazie milele yote. Rafiki wa kweli utoniacha mimi, unajua ninakupenda. Rafiki wa kweli utoniacha mimi.
Welcome back to the studio, to the program. My name is Samuel Njoroge, and it's a pleasure to have you with us throughout the show. In case you're just joining us, they say it's better the ending than the beginning. So you're right on time for good content coming your way, courtesy of Good Morning Kenya, the only way to start your morning. My name is Samuel Njoroge. I'm hanging out with the young man of art, YMA. I'm very sure if umetembea pale kwa mtandao, you've seen this face before. I'm so sorry bro, your Instagram account was hacked. Nini usumbua watu lakini? Shida watu inakuwaga nini? Tuwasema COVID-19. Yeah, tuwasomea ama tuwapashe? Ali.
Yeah, tuwapashe man.
Tuwapashe man. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You know, it's interesting that when I look at you and I see the growth, when I look at you and I see how far you've come,
for sure.
I remember the very first time I met you, kwa corridors at KBC, and we agreed, I think it was on a Monday, and we scheduled an interview for Thursday. And since then, here you are.
For real.
Talk to us about your journey, bro.
Before that, East and West.
Home is best.
Nilianza hapa hivi. Interview ya kwanza ilikuwa KBC.
Unajua pia mimi nilianza hapa hivi. East or West.
Home is the best.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the producer, for the team to believe in me. Nasema asante.
Thank you to me.
Sasa wewe ndio mwisho lazima nimalize. Yeah. My name is Ali Hassan. YMA is my company, or it's a brand. Yeah, manisha young man of art. Nimekuwa nikifanya art since 2015. Nikiingia kwa industry. KBC ndio ilikuwa channel ya kwanza kunipatia platform. Sasa tena sasa hii ndio at least imenikaribisha tena.
Manze. Haujawahi consider radio hivi? Kwa sauti uko nayo ya radio. Haujawahi consider radio?
Nimekuwa nikifikiria kitu kama hiyo. Nimekuwa nikifikiria kitu kama hiyo.
Itakuwa muhimu bro.
Itakuwa muhimu.
Talk to us about venye ulianza yani. Nilimaliza 2015. Yeah. Ile hustle pale hivyo ukianza ilikuwaje?
Nilimaliza chuo 2014. Nakumbuka hiyo time nikimada 4th, madhali aliniambia uende festival. So the only thing unaweza do as in sina do ya kupeleka chuo. Na kuzuko na talent at least jikaze tu. Wewe ishi asitu utafute do ulete chukule. Unajua sasa alipigia ile sababu like haizi nipeleka kole ama uni then second born na last born wako chuo as in wako chuo. So nikabidi nimekuja Nairobi 2015 nikaanza hustle. My first hustle ilikuwa kufagia tika highway. Nilikuwa nafagia tika highway manzi. So unajua wase vile ufagia wanafagia ngine portion like wanakuhesabia feet. So the more unafagia the more utapata do. So hiyo nilikuwa first yangu hustle ya kwanza, nilikuwa nafagia tika highway, nikipata kado kidogo naishia cyber kuangalia. Unajua sasa time siko nimeafford smartphone. Nilikuwa naishia cyber kuangalia as in kwa kompa kuangalia hizo ma procedure save vile draw as in kuangalia ile skills yenye so utumia kwa kudraw. So nikipata do kidogo pia na buy materials naanza kudraw one by one. So kuna siku nilikaa chini nikachora picha ya King Kaka. Kumbuka nilikuwa ngafana kizida time still hadi sasa mimi ni fan wake bado. So nikaanza kuzipost kwa ukuta unaona vile kwa hiyo mganga kutoka Kitui tuka hizo. So mimi nikachora picha then nikaandika namba na nikaandika jina. So ule msema alikuwa interested tu ana call. So nikaanza kuziweka kwa ukuta kwa post vitu kama hizo. So this time nilipata kulikuwa na msanii anaitwa Henry. Alikuwa amepita on the side of USIU road. Akona hiyo portrait, hiyo artwork akanicall. Akaniambia hey niaje bro, nimeona kuna post umeweka hii side ya USIU naitwa Henry. Na nilikuwa nataka unifanyie artwork. Wewe uchora? Nikamwambia yeah. So kumbe msee yeye ufanya marketing. Like kuna ule msee mwenye udraw. So msee akishachora anapatia Henry anaenda kufanya biashara ama kumarketia. So mimi nilipata naye nilikuwa nafikiri nitapata job. Basi msee aliniambia niaje mimi niko na boy wangu anaitwa Roni ndiye amekuwa kinimenta by the way. Shout out to Roni man. So Roni yeye I like mimi na Roni sasa tukapatiwa job like so Roni after kunitrain nikaanza kujua kudraw. Sasa Roni mimi na Roni tuna draw tunapatia Henry anaanza kutuzia. So like the more I draw the more napata hiyo perfection, the more msana ni mentor, the more msana ni vile natumia penseli vitu kama hizo raba ku make prototype kwa perfect. Sasa mimi nikaanza kujimarket kivyangu sasa. Nikaanza kupata na client tofauti, mimi najimarket tofauti, and na to market tofauti. So kuna ile time nilifika nikaanza kuona wale ma client mimi na approach inafika place like mimi nakosa as in time because Henry akileta job yeye ameniandika job lazima nifanye job Henry kwanza. So wale wasi nilikuwa maybe kwa mfano nimepata client nitamweka pending. So client atakuwa like kwani umse maybe si artist ama because maybe tumeagree naenda mpate siku fulani then Henry amepop in itabidi nimefanya job Henry. Nikakaa chini niko na life ya kuwa self employed. Wacha ikae. So si nikabidi nianze kujikoa kwazi nikoje kujiemployed. So since then nimekuwa nikifanya hivyo art.
How does your mom feel about you today? Because before your account was hacked, I saw you celebrate her one day.
Yeah.
And you spoke about how the journey has been. When she looks at her son, when you look at her, what moments do you share together?
First of all, like I just like my mom. I love my dad pia. Like siwezi sema napagua because wote walikubali nikafanya art. Unajua si maparo wote wanakubali watu kuendelea na talent zao.
Tricky sana.
Waparo wengi azini wazazi wengi wanaona like masomo ndio kila kitu.
Kuwa daktari kwanza,
kuwa daktari. Manzi. So nashukuru madangu place yako najua na wote manzi. Nakupenda sana na nakushukuru sana kwa hii chance ulipatia. Like leo nimepata chance ya kumbia vile mimi nakupenda like umetupigania umenipatia hiyo opportunity kuingia kwa art industry. Hiyo Filipo like akinaona maybe nimefanya msee ama naonekana kwa TV. Yeah, nashukuru sana. Same kama bro niko na badangu mdogo anaitwa Fa. Namshukuru pia kwa kunisupport pia na kunipatia morale. Unajua ndo anafanya mimi na kazana. Yeah, nashukuru sana.
Producer tissue hapo hivi. Too emotional. Yeah, but of course I've seen your art grow. Nimeona umechora say kadhaa kina Yemiala Day. Just to mention but a few. That moment unapatia mtu picha ama the art na ona reaction yake kwa uso, how does that make you feel?
First of all nikianza kuchora picha msee mchora like nikasta ichora tena. Sijai bago like this is just a client, this is an international maybe celebrity or prominent person. Mimi nikichora nachoranga like naona like nika wali naangalia nikidraw. So first of all nikichoranga picha mimi kwanga niko sure like hii picha itaishia. So I just have to make it perfect. in such a way like nikipeleka hiyo portrait umse ile face appearance as in appreciation yatanipatia ndio nipatia morale na kwa like unajua mse ku appreciate kitu imefanywa na mkono si rahisi so inanipatia ile like ile morale na kwa like manze I'm made it like unapatia mse kitu ya kwanza inakuanga like wow that's me so mimi na feeling like nime do all my best sasa as in feel tu poa tu na feel tu poa.
Yes. Nani ordinarily like which personality would you say you would wish to draw one day, like you just dedicate sisemi hizi zingine udedicate time lakini kuna kuanga na ile muse unaona ule msee manze huyu nikichora na nipate chance ya kumpatia portrait yake it will be a defining moment in my career. That's Jane by they saying mimi tricky.
Kenya or international
yeah, be it Kenya, be it internationally.
Internationally, I'm a big fan of The Rock. Yeah, The Rock, man. I like his movies. Same to Mr. Bean, the comedian. Like mimi upenda kucheka like as in napenda huyo msee vile uonyesha ile appearance ya as in hiyo comedy zake. So mimi wish tu siku moja tu nipatane vile hiyo like unajua is a comedian ile in such a way like yeye anafanya sawa cheke but yeye wacheki. So mimi dream siku moja nifanyie huyo msee portrait tu nimpeleke as in nipatane nione kama huyo msee atacheka hiyo portrait yangu ataongea kitu fani mimi nicheke ama
expression
ile hiyo saa huyo tu ndio mimi msee like sawa wile mtu amanipata nao manze.
Nice. Now you were once mentored, Ali.
Yeah.
Sindio? Are you mentoring others?
Of course. I have a crowd. I have students whom I still train. Niko na kadhaa, niko na kama kina Gumza, kuna like kina Dan Cole, as in my fans pia, tunasupportiana. Kuna mse kama anaitwa Janewa, pia ni artist pia. Tunasupportiana, tuna mentor each other. Kuna artist kadhaa, kuna like kina wasikibao wengi sana like tunasupportiana. Kuna pia mimi na mentor pia the same umeniuliza. Kuna na train like as in try kuonyesha art inapatiana do as in iko na do
good because nilikuwa nataka kuuliza hivyo. Kuna mwenye atasema inalipa rent kweli, inaleta chakula at the end of the day, ni talanta sawa lakini kuna kakitu
art iko na do art iko na do as long as you do any kind of art, either it's acting, comedy, like any kind of art iko na do. Basa disadvantage ya art yenye sisi tuna do visual art ma artist can you to appreciate like kama musicians ama comedians unapata msee ukifanya msee portrait like ni rare sana msee ku appreciate ile like maybe akupatie do. Unajua msee maybe kwa mfano mimi nikichora celeb nimpelekee first thing atafikiri maybe nampatia safan forget ni msee like mimi nimekalia hii artwork, nimetumia time yangu kuchora, nimetumia materials zangu, nimeframe pia same na transport ndio nikufikie. So like wase wengi appreciate art but ukipata ule msema na support art ama anajua art nini like ile effort umetumia kwa hiyo art obviously itakupatia do because hiyo ndio imenifanya hadi place mimi niko. Ukiangalia zile artwork zeniko nikifanya na wala wase nimepata nao kwa saizi ama place nimeenda art ndio inafanya niko hapa hivi, ina pay bills, ina support madangu, ina support mabro pia mimi the same pia mimi na support ndio maana niko hapa hivi. Unajua kama ingekuwa art singekuwa hapa. Yeah.
Tutaonana hapa nje tena. Tutaonana hapa nje.
Lazima.
Now, in the next 3 years, where would you like to be in terms of your growth?
First of all, like this name, I'm a brand YMA. For now, najita YMA because I'm alone. I'm a young man of art. But for the next 2 to 3 years, I wish nikue like your company, as in nikue, as in say like as in ime grow. You were young members of art. In such a way like
from young man of art to young members of art.
Yeah, because kuna wala sena mentor, kuna wala tuna work pamoja. So nataka ikuwe team siku moja. Unasikia ile time mwenye maybe kwa mfano mtu kama Barack Obama akikuja ama msee yote prominent akuja Kenya. So kuna kwa nakala kasana kana kuja na maua kanampatia. But umse ukiangalia vile ukiangalia po hiyo clip umse akichukua hiyo maua umse upatia na maybe bodyguard ama tu inaenda hivyo. But na dream like siku moja hii young members of art to present kama katoka moja kama mfanya portrait ama kama sisi tumemfanya portrait tunamkaribisha. Unajua umse atakuwa like wow mwanzo nimekaribishwa Kenya na portrait. Unajua sasa umse atataka kujua nani amechora hii picha au mtoto maybe kwa kampuni gani like atasupport sisi na pia ule mtu hii pia. So that's my dream.
Manze umepatana na umse?
Nishipatana
unajaribu kumweka straight manze ndio huyo si mind hata akichukua face yangu. Umepatana naye?
Nishipatana.
Ushaipatana naye? Ushampatia portrait?
Tulipiga naye picha tu.
Picha tu. Lazima ikifikie Moses.
Tulipiga naye picha tu.
Lazima ifikie Moses Kuria.
Lazima imfikie.
Si ndio?
Akishapata naye. Ashaiona. Kisa ile time nilikuwa naye sikuwa nimebeba. So akaniambia atanitafutia atanibook appointment ile at least hii rally kisha atanipigia simu.
Ni muhimu.
Ni
muhimu. That is the talent we're talking about.
Thank you.
Young man of art. Young man of art. One day he dreams that it will be young members of art in a bid to have an impact in society. Keep growing, bro. You have what it takes.
Thank you.
For real, you have what it takes. Nasikia kama niongeza tu kilo kidogo so naweza dai portrait nyingine in the very near future. But thank you so much for coming.
Thank you too.
Asante sana kwa kuja. And thank you for watching the show. It's been a pleasure to every guest that has graced us either online or on air. Asante sana even for your contribution and your participation on air. To our Mrs. Bean, Jane Wamboi, my co-host, asante sana. Enjoy your weekend. We will be seeing you on Monday at 7 a.m. Thank you.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Do you even know anything about that man? Nipe dakika 5. Nitakuwa nimejua kila kitu.
I don't even know if that gym will still be standing by the end of the month. Unataka kuimba mwa? What a shame.
Chorus loves me. He wants to marry me.
You shouldn't be rushing into this thing.
Boss, mimi ni pro kwa hii game. Chenye tuna discuss na wewe inaishia hapa. But pia kama unitrust, unaweza pia ukanifaa.
Wish was not to get married in 2 weeks time.
She's getting married?
Hiyo hakukwambia.
Tunakupa burudani.
Na umbea, yani stories zinazo trend kwenye mitandao ya kijamii.
Interview kali za wasanii wapendao.
Mguu pande panda milima, izungushie hapo ma kama una
ndani ya March of Life kupitia KBC Channel 1 na Pwani FM.
Kuanzia mida ya saa 3 mpaka mida ya 5 kamili asubuhi. Ukiwa nami ni Teken 1GB.
Mimi ni Marco. Keep it locked.
Next on
ما نسمع اسم النبي لازم نصلي عليه اللهم صل عليه.
Katika mambo ya kawaida, mapenzi utoke upande wetu kwa kumpenda Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala.
Miongoni mwa manufaa ya kupendwa na Mwenyezi Mungu ni kuwa Allah atawafanya binadamu nao pia wakupende, na mambo yako yatakuwa rahisi, dua zako zitakuwa zinakujibiwa, na Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala pia atakuwa anakulinda.
لما تيجي سيرة النبي نبدأها بالصلاة.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Mwalimu, angisi mother shares birthday day with Fala's girlfriend.
Really? What a weird coincidence.
You and I both can agree that all this is not for Sisha.
Saitan. See, I thought we said we are not going to speak about that Jechien again. Why are you spoiling my mood, Yawa?
Please, Yose, what is wrong, eh?
Please, what? You think I'm one of those women you are calling?
Mwalimu, can you imagine Sister wants to kill Ngalo?
Or maybe it is you.
Me? Why? What did I do to you?
Next on.
Oya buda. Rada. Acha nikuchapie. Glenn msanaweza kupatia wera ya nguvu sana. Hata kikukumbusha kitu utaki kukumbuka, wewe kumbuka tu.
Kuna ufala sana. Aya, wewe mgeni wa Tiff?
Yeah.
So basi nende nimchapie uko hapa ndo nikam.
Is
that necessary? The family knows.
Yaje? Wewe ndio Sifa?
Yeah.
Oh, Sifa ameniambia unakam. Karibu. Kwa ngori mazee.
Wewe na nani?
Ushaanza tena.
Cheki, niliwaambia hizi mix zenu mimi msiniingishe.
Cheki, ongea polepole unachoma.
I might be the one firing you.
Sasa ukinifuta kibibi na watoto watakula nini?
The next time you should be smart.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
The efficient utilization of water resources in the country for irrigation is a key driver of the food security pillar under President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda. This week on Project 254.
Kwa saa hii ukiangalia unaona kila mtu ako kwa shamba. Tunapalilia na tunafurahi kwa sababu tunapalilia na maji iko ndani.
Tukikuja hapa tunapata pesa yenye tukirudi nayo nyumbani inatusaidia, tunapata chakula.
Saa hizi tuko na meal hapa, hatuendi mwea. Hii nikivuna mchele yangu hapa napeleka kwa store.
Only on KBC Channel 1.
Rollball is a game played by two teams of 12 players. Out of 12, only 6 players are allowed to play on court at a time.
Rollball was invented in India in 2003, but here in Kenya it was introduced here in 2010. And from there, Kenya have been playing rollball and are the member of the International Rollball Federation. The challenges we're facing so far is that this game is new in the country, and you find it that the government is not come on board on it, but because the sponsor and also the playing field whereby you can find a place made specific for the rollball.
This game is played on skates. The ball can be held in single hand or both hands even during passing. A player must dribble the ball while carrying it. This game could be played on an ice skating rink as well.
The game we have been played is, have you seen it, is about combination of handball. It's only that we have got 6 players playing, 5 on court and then 1 in the post. So those players that are being said that those in court players are not allowed to go inside the D area where the goalkeeper is standing, and also the goalkeeper is not supposed to come out of the D area.
When it comes to this game, gears are very important to avoid injuries.
Injuries they are there because some are that maybe you can say knocking the knee, dislocation of the knee, elbow or your shoulder. Also some head knocking down. Also bruising your maybe part of your body, because sometimes the ground which you are being using it, like this one is a tarmac or a tar. For safety measures, because the International Rollball Federation have put the rules whereby you need to use the equipment whereby when you are playing the rollball, like helmet, you have got the elbow guard, you have got knee guard, and also some pad for the palm, whereby when you are being knocked down, you cannot get injuries, because those are the main part or major part of the body to face down faster.
As a coach or player, there are simple things to do to help reduce preventable injuries. Example, prepare the players by warming up and stretching before a tournament. Remember to hydrate. Don't take chances with the brain. Know the signs and symptoms of a concussion. Make rest a priority. Be a prepared coach. Be a supportive parent and obedient player.
Before a tournament, we usually start with some preparation like warm-up and build-up exercise. Because before you go there, you can get injury if you don't do some warm-up. And so that we usually we warm up, first of all you just run without skating. After running with skating, then you come put on skate now. After putting on skate, just dribbling, passes, so that each and every player can come together to know each other with passes and combination.
All in all, the best sports team are made up of players who work together and are willing to make sacrifices. A team with unselfish players who support each other will generally perform better than the group of individuals that doesn't play as a team. This is why, in addition to working on individual skills, it's also important to learn how to play with others.
We find that here in Africa, Kenya, we are the big house, we are the powerhouse for the roll ball, and also in the world we are being recognized and we are being respected and being feared, because if ladies are the world champion out of 32 countries and men are the 4th ranked in the world, so I find that this is a good game whereby we are going to do good, and I can argue them the new players can come and join.
Na msibabaishwe na yale mnayoyapitia, hata yawe magumu kiasi gani, yote yatapita. La msingi ni kuweka tumaini letu kwa Mungu aliyetuumba. Katika kitabu cha Warumi 5:3, wala si hivyo tu, ila mnafurahia.
Kupata dhiki huleta zaburi. Bonyeza *811 *963#. Bonyeza *811 *963#.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1 for a program that is objective and offers answers to matters economic, security, social, political, food, infrastructure, and setting the agenda. Join us for Charging Currents.
The efficient utilization of water resources in the country for irrigation is a key driver of the food security pillar under President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda.
Hizi tuko na mill hapa, hatuendi mwea. Hii nikivuna mchele yangu hapa napeleka kwa store.
Only on KBC Channel 1.
On the next episode of
Kwani nyumbani wapigwa? Nataka uwe kama wanaume wengine.
Okay. Niambie, wanaume wao wanaume wengine wakoje?
Ondoka, subiria nini?
Jamani Maria.
Nini kwani akiondoka yeye mimi napungukiwa na nini humu ndani? Huyu hapo aseme kama namsemea uongo. Ni wa nini mwenyewe? Sema kama nakusemea uongo.
Hatujali kazi zenu
next on.
Rada, acha nikuchapie. Glenn msana anaweza kupatia wera ya nguvu sana. Hata akikukumbusha kitu utaki kukumbuka, wewe kumbuka tu.
Kuna ufala sana. Aya, wewe mgeni wa Tiff?
Yeah.
So basi nende nimchapie uko hapa ndo nikam.
Is that necessary? The family knows.
Yaani, wewe ndio Sifa?
Yeah.
Tiff ameniambia unakam. Karibu. Kwa ngori mazi.
Wewe na nani?
Ushaanza tena.
Cheki, siniliambia hizi mix zenu mimi msiniingishe.
Cheki, ongea pole pole unachoma.
I might be the one firing you.
Sasa ukinifuta kibibi na watoto watakula nini?
The next time you should be smart.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Why it seems that the boy child is struggling.
With the absence of fathers, men have